The city of Jerusalem stretched beneath a golden sunset, its walls glowing faintly with the last light of day, casting long shadows over centuries of stone and memory. From a distance, it seemed peaceful, serene, almost sacred in its quiet majesty. Tourists wandered the narrow streets, oblivious to the layers of history pressed tightly beneath their feet, unaware of the centuries of secrets cradled deep below the surface. But the city's serenity was deceptive. For beneath the familiar streets, beneath the sacred sites that pilgrims revered, there lay a network of chambers and tunnels that few had ever seen, and even fewer understood. These were not merely storage rooms, cisterns, or passages to move water. These were hidden spaces, deliberate in their concealment, painstakingly constructed over centuries, spaces designed to hold something, or someone, away from the eyes of the world. The first clue that such a hidden world existed came not from the stones themselves, but from whispers in ancient texts and fragile manuscripts, written centuries ago by scribes who dared to note what they saw. Some spoke of chambers sealed with heavy stones, hidden so carefully that even the most diligent searchers might pass them unnoticed. Others hinted at tunnels leading deep into the earth, winding and labyrinthine, branching unpredictably, like veins under the city. One description told of a room so vast it seemed like a cathedral, its ceiling lost in darkness, with inscriptions carved into walls that no one alive could yet decipher. These were not fables, not the kind of tales meant to entertain children by the fire. These were observations, cautious and precise, recorded in fear and awe. The writers themselves often vanished from history, their words the only remnants of their encounters with the hidden. Archaeologists who first explored beneath Jerusalem's surface spoke in reverent tones about the feeling of entering these chambers. It was not just the darkness, or the damp air, or the scent of stone and ancient dust that impressed them, though those were notable. It was the sense of being watched by history itself. Each step forward felt like stepping into a living memory, as if the stones themselves had a story to tell. A story of triumph and tragedy, devotion and despair, greed and secrecy. In some chambers, faint marks in the walls suggested hasty work, hurried repairs, or perhaps a deliberate attempt to obscure entrances. In others, symmetry and precision hinted at careful planning, at architects and laborers working under instructions they may not have fully understood. What made these underground chambers especially mysterious was not their existence. Jerusalem had always been a city of layers, but their apparent purpose or lack thereof. Unlike ordinary cisterns meant to hold water, or tunnels designed for passage, these spaces seemed to defy explanation. Rooms were found with unusual proportions, corridors that ended abruptly, doors bricked up centuries ago without record, staircases descending into solid rock that led nowhere. In some cases, the architecture suggested ceremonial use, but no religious artifact survived to confirm the assumption. In others, signs of habitation were evident. Broken pottery, charred remains of fires, even skeletal fragments discovered centuries later. But these finds were scattered, fragmentary, teasing rather than satisfying the mind's desire for closure. Every discovery led to more questions than answers. The most compelling part of these hidden chambers was not what was found, but what was deliberately left unseen. Many entrances were sealed by the simple expedient of stone, sometimes massive, sometimes deceptively small, designed to appear ordinary yet hiding a passage beyond. Some had been walled over during Roman times. Others were buried under subsequent layers of construction by Crusaders, Ottomans, or even local residents. Records of these closures were scarce or conflicting. Occasionally, a local legend would surface, telling of a priest or a scholar entering a chamber and never returning, of treasures that could not be accounted for, or of messages carved into stone that only certain eyes could read. In every account, there was a recurring theme. The underground world of Jerusalem was both known and unknowable, a paradox preserved in stone and memory. Walking through the city above, one could hardly imagine the vastness below. Archaeologists often remarked on the difficulty of visualizing the scale. Above ground, streets appeared narrow, walls low, buildings modest. Yet beneath the surface, the city expanded like a secret twin, a subterranean reflection of the world above. Some chambers were vast enough to contain entire families, or perhaps a small community. Others were so tight, so claustrophobic, that only the smallest explorers could navigate them. It was as though the city itself had decided who could enter and who could not, leaving only faint traces of its design for those brave enough to follow. The feeling of suspense, even dread, was compounded by the city's history of conquest and conflict. Jerusalem had been besieged, captured, and rebuilt countless times. Kings, emperors, and invaders left their mark above ground. But below, the city remained a repository of secrets. Some chambers may have been hiding from the Romans, others from the Crusaders, and still others from local populations during political upheaval. In every era, someone had made the conscious decision to hide, to conceal, to seal. And over centuries, those decisions accumulated, creating a labyrinth that was part practical, part mystical, part protective. Explorers who entered these chambers described a profound emotional experience. Darkness enveloped them quickly, swallowing sound and light alike. Every footstep echoed strangely, magnifying the sense of isolation. The air was cool, damp, sometimes suffocating, filled with the scent of earth, stone, and occasionally something indefinable, almost metallic, that seemed to belong to no era yet lingered from all eras. Sounds traveled oddly. The drip of water could seem like a distant footfall, a whisper, or a warning. And yet, the darkness was not entirely oppressive. In the quiet, in the stillness, there was also awe, a feeling that one was in a space untouched for centuries, that one was standing in the same shadow where kings, soldiers, priests, and commoners had all walked, worked, and perhaps prayed. The chambers themselves bore the marks of human ingenuity and labor. Some walls were hewn with tools that left clear impressions, long parallel grooves showing the methodical work of masons and laborers. Floors were often leveled with care, sometimes covered with stone slabs, sometimes left rough and uneven, as if the chamber had a dual purpose, both utilitarian and symbolic. In certain rooms, niches were carved into walls, sometimes empty, sometimes containing remnants of objects that defied identification. Occasionally, archaeologists would find inscriptions, simple letters, cryptic symbols, geometric designs, faded with time, yet retaining a deliberate elegance. These were not casual scratches. They were messages, deliberate, perhaps intended to convey knowledge to those deemed worthy, or to serve as warnings for those who were not. Yet, as meticulously as some chambers were constructed, the overall design often lacked the logic one might expect. Corridors turned suddenly, staircases descended into nothing, and doors opened to solid rock. Many archaeologists suggested that this disorientation may have been intentional. Some speculated it was a form of protection, designed to confuse intruders. Others argued that it reflected a spiritual or ritualistic philosophy. The journey through the underground was meant to be symbolic, a passage through uncertainty to reach enlightenment, safety, or knowledge. Whatever the reason, the effect on anyone who entered was unmistakable. A sense of awe and caution, a mixture of fear and reverence that stayed long after leaving the chamber behind. Above all, what made these underground spaces extraordinary was the tension between what was visible and what was hidden. To the casual observer, Jerusalem was a city of walls, markets, temples, and shrines. But beneath that visible layer, the hidden chambers told a story of human ambition, devotion, secrecy, and survival. Every brick, every stone, every carefully carved niche was a reminder that the city had always existed on two levels: the familiar, visible one above, and the secret, enigmatic one below. And for those who sought to understand history not as a series of dates and names but as a living, breathing continuum of human action, the underground world offered a window into the depths of the human spirit. Its fears, its obsessions, its ingenuity, and its drive to hide and to protect what mattered most. Explorers, historians, and archaeologists all agreed on one thing. The underground chambers of Jerusalem were not merely historical curiosities. They were living enigmas, spaces that demanded respect and patience. Each discovery was both revelation and question, each excavation a reminder of how little was truly known. Some chambers may never be explored fully, either because of structural danger, political restriction, or intentional secrecy. And yet, the desire to uncover them persisted, driven not only by professional curiosity, but by a deep human need to connect with the past, to understand the choices, fears, and hopes of those who came before. As night fell over the city above, casting its shadow over golden walls and cobbled streets, the subterranean world remained in silent mystery. Candles flickered in small niches, lanterns left by archaeologists cast trembling shadows on ancient stones, and the air carried the faintest echoes of footsteps long gone. Here, history was not just remembered. It was alive, pressing against the imagination, inviting exploration and challenging understanding. And so, the story began, not with the city above, but with the hidden city below. A city of chambers no one explains. A city whose secrets waited patiently, silently, for those willing to descend into its depths. Beneath the sunlit streets of Jerusalem lies a world few ever witness, a stratified labyrinth formed not by chance, but by the weight of history itself. Each layer of stone, each embedded fragment of pottery, tells a story, a memory pressed into the earth by the hands of countless generations. To stand on the city's surface is to touch only the most recent chapters of an epic narrative, while the deeper truths remain buried, hidden beneath centuries of human activity, conquest, and devotion. Archaeologists call this the city's stratigraphy, a vertical timeline frozen in stone and soil, yet to the ordinary eye, it is invisible, silent, almost mythic. The city is not simply ancient. It is ageless, a place where time folds upon itself. Roman roads lie atop the remnants of earlier Judean dwellings. Byzantine mosaics peek through rubble from later Islamic reconstructions. Crusader walls intersect with Ottoman fortifications, creating a puzzle impossible to decipher without careful study. The deeper one digs, both literally and figuratively, the more complex the story becomes. Each excavation reveals an overlapping of lives and purposes, a layering of human ambition, fear, and ingenuity. And within these layers, hidden chambers emerge, sometimes accidentally, sometimes intentionally, as though the city itself is protecting its own secrets. Early excavations in Jerusalem were often crude, motivated by curiosity or treasure hunting rather than scientific methodology. Explorers in the 19th century descended into tunnels with nothing more than lanterns and rudimentary tools, guided by local legends and fragments of historical texts. Many of these tunnels led to dead ends, partially collapsed chambers, or rooms whose purpose was inexplicable. Archaeologists would uncover staircases leading into solid rock, niches too small for practical use, and inscriptions that defied translation. Even in these early explorations, a pattern emerged. There were spaces meant to be found, and spaces meant to remain hidden. Some chambers appeared mundane, a water cistern here, a storage room there. Yet others seemed deliberately enigmatic, constructed with precision and symmetry, their entrances concealed or sealed for reasons lost to time. Modern archaeologists have approached the task with far greater care and sophistication. Ground-penetrating radar, magnetometers, and LiDAR scans have revealed voids beneath the city, anomalies in the soil that hint at chambers too deep or too dangerous to explore by conventional means. Every discovery generates both excitement and caution. Excavation is not merely an academic pursuit. It is a negotiation with the unknown. Structural instability, centuries of accumulated debris, and the fragility of the city above all present challenges. Yet each layer uncovered brings humanity closer to understanding not just the physical architecture of Jerusalem, but the lives of those who built it, lived above it, and, in some cases, deliberately chose to descend into its shadows. In exploring the city's layers, one begins to perceive patterns, subtle signals of human intention. The Roman period, for example, left a distinct mark on subterranean construction. Functional, strategic, and remarkably durable. Aqueducts channeled water with precision, tunnels allowed soldiers to move unseen, and chambers offered storage for grain, wine, and valuables. Yet even within the Roman imprint, archaeologists encounter anomalies. Certain rooms appear unnecessarily spacious, with no clear purpose. Certain corridors twist in illogical directions, terminating in dead ends that served no discernible strategic function. These irregularities have fueled speculation that some chambers may have held symbolic or ceremonial significance. Spaces designed for select individuals, spaces whose function was as much spiritual as practical. Byzantine and early Islamic layers add yet more complexity. As conquerors and settlers moved through Jerusalem, they repurposed existing chambers, sealing some entrances, opening others, and sometimes creating entirely new spaces. Archaeological evidence shows that walls were rebuilt, staircases extended, and niches carved where none had existed before. These interventions often appear chaotic, but there is an underlying logic. Adaptation to immediate needs, whether religious, military, or civic. Still, the deeper one digs, the less clear the original intention becomes. The city's history is written not only in visible layers but also in the absences, the sealed chambers, and the architectural quirks that resist straightforward interpretation. Some chambers have been intentionally obscured, their entrances hidden behind stone, plaster, or rubble. Archaeologists theorize that these were spaces of protection for sacred objects, political secrets, or refuge during times of war. The Crusaders, for instance, were known to expand tunnels and chambers for strategic purposes, but even they left certain areas untouched, walled, or concealed. Ottoman records suggest that in the 16th and 17th centuries, surveyors noted the existence of hidden vaults whose purpose was never explained. These omissions, deliberate or accidental, have left modern explorers and historians to grapple with questions that may never be fully answered. Who decided what should remain hidden, and why? Pottery shards, coinage, and everyday objects found in these layers offer tantalizing glimpses of life above and below. A broken jug might indicate storage or trade. A coin might mark a specific ruler or era. Yet even mundane items can take on heightened significance when discovered in a sealed chamber or a tunnel leading to nowhere. The juxtaposition of the ordinary and the extraordinary, of daily life and deliberate concealment, gives the city beneath Jerusalem an aura of mystery. Every object found is a clue, a whisper from the past, pointing toward larger narratives that remain just out of reach. The process of excavation is, therefore, as much philosophical as it is practical. Archaeologists must navigate between evidence and speculation, between the visible and the hidden. Each shovel of earth removed uncovers fragments of human life but also raises new questions. How did people move through these chambers? For what purpose were certain spaces constructed? Why were some entrances sealed, while others were left accessible? The answers are rarely simple. Instead, they emerge gradually, through painstaking documentation, cross-referencing ancient texts, and interpreting subtle clues embedded in stone, soil, and artifacts. One striking feature of Jerusalem's stratigraphy is the layering of water systems. Ancient cisterns, channels, and reservoirs are interwoven with chambers whose purposes are less clear. Some archaeologists suggest that water may have served ritualistic purposes, in addition to practical needs. Certain chambers are positioned to catch water in ways that appear symbolic, aligning with seasonal changes or celestial events. Whether intentional or coincidental, the presence of water in these spaces adds another layer of mystery, emphasizing that the city's underground world was carefully considered, not merely a byproduct of excavation or urban expansion. The human element is never far from these discoveries. Archaeologists describe the psychological impact of descending into these chambers. The darkness is suffocating, the air thick with dust and humidity, and the sense of isolation profound. Yet within this oppressive environment, there is also wonder. To touch a carved wall, a stairwell, or a niche that has remained undisturbed for centuries is to connect directly with a continuum of human experience, a lineage of thought, labor, fear, and reverence. Every tunnel, every chamber, every passage is both a physical space and a repository of human intent, offering insight into the people who conceived, built, and used them. As one moves from layer to layer, the stratigraphy reveals a chronology of adaptation and resilience. Conquerors arrived and imposed their architectural and cultural priorities, often overlaying existing structures with new ones. At times, the changes were subtle. A wall reinforced, a doorway redirected. At others, they were drastic. Entire chambers repurposed, floors elevated, staircases blocked. Each intervention represents a negotiation between past and present, between memory and necessity. Yet through all this activity, certain spaces were deliberately preserved, sealed, and left untouched, a silent testament to the reverence or fear that guided their creators. One cannot ignore the sheer scale of the underground network. While above-ground Jerusalem is dense, complex, and historic, the subterranean city is astonishing in its breadth. Chambers extend beneath public squares, religious sites, and residential areas, often interconnecting in ways that defy expectation. In some cases, tunnels discovered in the 20th century connected previously unknown chambers, forming routes that could have facilitated secret movement, storage, or ceremonial practice. The mapping of these networks remains incomplete, constrained by both structural risk and political sensitivity. Yet each new discovery reshapes understanding, revealing that the city beneath is not an incidental feature, but a deliberate, functional, and sometimes enigmatic extension of life above. Perhaps the most haunting aspect of Jerusalem's underground is the tension between what is known and what remains hidden. Archaeologists can document, map, and speculate, but some spaces resist categorization. Doors remain bricked, niches empty, and corridors unexplored. Artifacts hint at human presence without clarifying purpose. In these voids, imagination takes hold, filling gaps with possibility, fear, and wonder. The past feels alive in these chambers, as though the city itself watches those who descend, measuring their curiosity, their audacity, their respect. Above all, the study of these layers is an exercise in humility. Jerusalem has endured conquest, revolution, and rebuilding countless times, yet beneath every stone, there are chapters written by hands long gone. Each artifact, each chamber, each corridor is a message across centuries, a reminder of lives lived, fears confronted, and secrets preserved. The more is uncovered, the more the city defies comprehension, revealing that human history is never fully linear, never fully accessible, and never free of mystery. And so, to explore the layers of Jerusalem is to enter a dialogue with time itself. The deeper one digs, the more intricate and unexpected the story becomes. Every layer holds fragments of triumph and tragedy, faith and fear, ambition and secrecy. Archaeologists, historians, and explorers alike describe a sense of awe that grows with every discovery, tempered by the recognition that some chambers may never be opened, some secrets never fully understood. And yet, it is precisely this tension between knowledge and mystery that drives the human impulse to explore, to uncover, and to seek understanding beneath the surface. In the end, the layers of time beneath Jerusalem are not merely geological or architectural phenomena. They are the city's memory, preserved in stone, soil, and shadow. They are records of human intent, ambition, devotion, and fear. They are a hidden city, a secret mirrored beneath the one seen above, waiting patiently for those who are willing to descend into the unknown. And as the light fades across the golden stones above, the city below remains silent but vibrant, a living labyrinth of history and humanity, promising discoveries that may illuminate the past or challenge everything we thought we knew. The first whispers of Jerusalem's hidden chambers did not come from the soil or stone, but from the ink and parchment of those who dared to record what they saw and what they feared to see. Across centuries, scribes, travelers, and scholars wrote of tunnels beneath the city. Some described as simple escape routes, others as labyrinths of extraordinary scale, filled with chambers whose purpose seemed deliberately concealed. These early accounts were fragmentary, contradictory, and often couched in the language of legend. Yet, when viewed collectively, a pattern emerged. There was, undeniably, a hidden world beneath the city's surface, one whose contours were shaped not only by practical needs, but by a human desire to hide, to protect, and perhaps even to mystify. One of the earliest chroniclers, writing during the late Roman period, hinted at tunnels leading from the city walls into deeper chambers. He described them with caution, warning that some passages were treacherous, some doors were sealed, and some chambers contained objects of immense importance that could not be removed. His words carried a weight that suggested not mere rumor, but a recognition that certain knowledge was dangerous, not only to reveal, but even to encounter. Later scribes, centuries apart, repeated similar observations. Rooms built with precision, corridors that bent unexpectedly, and niches that seemed too deliberate to be accidental. Across time, a strange continuity appeared. The city's subterranean spaces were known to some, feared by many, and understood by almost none. In the medieval period, particularly during the Crusades, accounts of hidden chambers became more frequent, though often cryptic. Soldiers and pilgrims reported entering tunnels beneath key religious sites, encountering rooms with ceilings lost in darkness, walls carved with markings that no one could decipher, and strange relics whose purpose was uncertain. These descriptions are tantalizing for modern archaeologists. They suggest that the subterranean spaces were not simply utilitarian but may have held spiritual, ceremonial, or even political significance. A chronicler writing in the 12th century hinted at a secret vault beneath one of the city's sacred shrines, a room that could only be accessed through a narrow, winding staircase hidden behind a false wall. According to his account, those who entered never spoke of what they found. The tension between discovery and secrecy was a recurring theme in these early records. Some passages were known only to a select few, guarded by local families, temple authorities, or military officials. Others were deliberately hidden or sealed, sometimes with heavy stone, sometimes with layers of rubble, as if the city itself were choosing which secrets to preserve and which to deny to the world. Even today, modern explorers encounter entrances whose existence was recorded in texts centuries old, only to find that they have been bricked over, collapsed, or deliberately concealed. The deliberate hiding of these chambers is one of the enduring mysteries. What was so important that it demanded concealment across centuries, across empires, and across religious and political divides? Maps from the early modern period offer additional insight, though they often raise more questions than they answer. Surveyors and cartographers, whether working under Ottoman or European authorities, documented underground features with varying levels of detail. Some maps accurately traced tunnels, chambers, and cisterns. Others were vague, omitting entire sections or misrepresenting their scale. Scholars today speculate that omissions were sometimes intentional, a method of controlling access to knowledge. The very act of mapping could itself be a statement of power. To know the underground was to wield influence over it, and by extension, over the city above. Accounts of lost scrolls and manuscripts further reinforce the sense that Jerusalem's underground spaces were sites of deliberate secrecy. Scholars occasionally reference texts that describe hidden chambers containing religious artifacts, sacred relics, or documents considered too sensitive to be made public. While these texts have often been lost to history, their echoes persist in references within other works. For instance, a 15th century note mentions a small chamber beneath a temple site, holding objects that no one outside the faithful may touch. Another chronicler, writing in the 16th century, describes a passage leading to a series of chambers whose ceilings were etched with symbols now indecipherable. These repeated mentions suggest that secrecy was a constant concern, regardless of the era or the ruling power. Explorers and archaeologists in the modern era have attempted to reconcile these written records with physical evidence. Some chambers documented in medieval texts were eventually rediscovered, revealing architectural features that confirmed, in remarkable detail, the accuracy of the earlier accounts. Others remain elusive, their entrances obscured, their locations debated. The process of cross-referencing texts and excavations has become a careful dance of deduction, patience, and often, luck. Every new discovery is both triumph and enigma, affirming centuries-old descriptions while simultaneously deepening the mystery of the spaces yet unseen. What makes these early records especially fascinating is the human element, the fear, reverence, and curiosity that drove people to write them. Chroniclers often couch their descriptions in allegory or metaphor, suggesting that some aspects of the underground world were too dangerous or sacred to describe literally. Words like forbidden, hidden, cursed, or blessed recur throughout the literature. This layering of narrative and reality complicates modern interpretation. Scholars must navigate between the literal and the symbolic, between what actually existed and what was imagined or feared. Yet it is precisely this ambiguity that makes the chronicles so compelling. They offer glimpses into the psychology of the past, revealing how people perceived the spaces beneath their city not merely as physical locations, but as realms imbued with power, danger, and meaning. In some cases, the historical records point to chambers whose functions remain entirely unknown. Descriptions may note unusual dimensions, unexpected architectural features, or rooms accessed only through hidden staircases. Archaeologists speculate that these spaces could have served multiple purposes: refuge, storage, ceremonial activity, or the safeguarding of items considered invaluable. The repeated secrecy across generations, Roman, Byzantine, Crusader, Ottoman, suggests that the chamber's importance transcended practical utility. Whether spiritual, political, or social, the hidden spaces appear to have held a significance that demanded deliberate concealment. The allure of these chambers is amplified by reports of treasures or sacred artifacts, often hinted at but never fully documented. Some scribes describe objects that could not be carried away, chambers whose entrances were magically or ritually sealed, and inscriptions warning against intrusion. While much of this may be legend, the consistency of these accounts across centuries indicates a persistent cultural memory. The idea that some spaces were meant to be preserved, protected, or hidden from the uninitiated. For archaeologists, this creates both temptation and challenge. To uncover the hidden chambers is to touch history directly, but it is also to encounter the unknown, with all its risks. One of the recurring features mentioned in early texts is the network-like structure of tunnels. These were not merely isolated chambers. They were often interconnected in complex patterns, forming pathways that allowed movement beneath the city undetected. In some instances, the tunnels seemed to anticipate later construction, as if earlier architects had knowledge of future urban developments. The precision and foresight implied by these passages baffle modern experts, suggesting that the underground city was not haphazard but carefully planned, layer upon layer, for purposes still largely mysterious. Stories from pilgrims and travelers add a deeply human dimension to the records. Many recount fear, awe, and disorientation upon entering these subterranean spaces. Some speak of chambers where the ceiling seemed to vanish into darkness, of corridors that twisted unexpectedly, and of inscriptions that seemed alive with meaning. Others describe finding objects out of place, fragments of life preserved in stone, pottery, tools, religious artifacts. The consistent detail across diverse accounts underscores the authenticity of the experiences. They remind us that the hidden city beneath Jerusalem was not merely theoretical or symbolic. It was a lived space, one that interacted with those brave or desperate enough to enter. Moreover, these early accounts highlight the interaction between secrecy and survival. In times of conflict, Roman sieges, Crusader occupations, or Ottoman governance, hidden chambers may have served practical purposes: safe storage of supplies, refuge for civilians, or clandestine passageways for movement across the city. Yet even in times of peace, the chambers remained sealed and hidden, suggesting that concealment itself had intrinsic value. The act of hiding, of deliberately obscuring knowledge, became a form of control over the past, a method of safeguarding history and its treasures from those not deemed worthy. The combination of documentation, observation, and legend provides a multidimensional view of Jerusalem's underground. Unlike ordinary archaeological sites, where physical evidence predominates, the city beneath Jerusalem is understood through a synthesis of material, written, and anecdotal evidence. Each dimension complements the other. A chronicler's account may guide excavation, a rediscovered chamber may validate a centuries-old map, and a fragment of pottery may illuminate the daily life of those who once used the tunnels. Yet even with these convergences, ambiguity persists. The city's underground is never fully knowable. Each discovery is a portal to further questions. In navigating these ancient texts, archaeologists encounter patterns that hint at intentionality and design. Certain symbols recur across centuries, suggesting that knowledge of the underground spaces was transmitted selectively, preserved through oral and written tradition. The repetition of specific motifs, the concealed doorway, the sealed chamber, the chamber of unusual dimensions, indicates a cultural awareness of the subterranean city's significance. These recurring elements provide not only clues to the past but also a framework for modern exploration. If certain spaces were considered important enough to preserve across generations, they may still hold insights into the city's social, spiritual, or political life. Finally, the human fascination with hidden chambers is itself a constant through history. Whether scribe, soldier, pilgrim, or archaeologist, each generation is drawn to explore, to document, and to interpret the spaces beneath Jerusalem. The motivations vary: curiosity, devotion, ambition, survival. Yet the underlying attraction remains the same: the promise of uncovering what is hidden, of connecting directly with a past that is otherwise inaccessible. And so, the city's underground continues to exert a magnetic pull, compelling those who walk its streets above to consider what lies below, to imagine the vast chambers and corridors, and to wonder what secrets may still await discovery. The tunnels beneath Jerusalem are not uniform. They twist, branch, and occasionally vanish, as though the city itself has chosen to hide its deeper truths. While early explorers assumed many chambers were merely storage rooms, modern archaeologists quickly realized that much of what lay beneath the surface defied conventional logic. Corridors of uneven width, rooms of inexplicable size, and staircases leading to walls or sudden drops challenged the idea that these spaces were purely utilitarian. Even the construction techniques varied. Some chambers were roughly hewn from bedrock, others carved with remarkable precision, their walls smooth and aligned with architectural rigor that suggested planning beyond mere necessity. Each anomaly raised a new question. Why were certain chambers treated with care, while others were left unfinished or obstructed? Excavations in the 19th and early 20th centuries began to reveal the true complexity of these tunnels. Scholars like Charles Warren and Montague Parker were among the first to systematically explore Jerusalem's subterranean network, venturing into passages that had remained untouched for centuries. Their accounts described the profound disorientation of navigating corridors that turned unexpectedly, sloped downward at odd angles, or opened into chambers whose dimensions seemed disproportionate to their surroundings. They encountered niches carved into walls with no apparent purpose, some just large enough to hold a small vessel, others vast enough to suggest ceremonial use. Warren, in particular, noted that the deeper they went, the more the architecture seemed to challenge their expectations, as though designed to obscure as much as to serve. Some chambers revealed hints of practical application. Water systems were extensive. Cisterns, aqueducts, and channels carved directly from rock-supplied reservoirs above and below ground. These systems were engineering marvels, designed to manage scarce water resources in a city reliant on precise conservation. But alongside practical features, archaeologists discovered spaces that served no obvious function. Some rooms were unusually tall, with ceilings lost in shadow. Others contained staircases that led to nowhere. The juxtaposition of mundane and enigmatic spaces suggested that utility was not the sole priority. Instead, some chambers may have held symbolic or spiritual significance, or perhaps functioned as repositories for items deemed too important or dangerous to be left in the open. Accounts from local residents, both in the past and the present, hint at human interaction with these chambers that transcends simple use. Stories of families descending into tunnels to avoid raids, of priests entering secret chambers to perform rites, and of hidden rooms sealed with stone all point to a city beneath the city, one that existed parallel to the life above. Some chambers were undoubtedly used for storage or shelter, yet others were deliberately obscured or sealed for reasons that are not recorded. The combination of practical and enigmatic features has led some archaeologists to speculate that secrecy was a deliberate part of design, perhaps intended to protect valuable artifacts, religious knowledge, or even strategic military information. The Roman influence is unmistakable in many chambers. Romans were master engineers, and their tunnels, aqueducts, and underground chambers reflect a combination of practical efficiency and precise construction. Still, some rooms do not fit neatly into this framework. Dimensions and layouts sometimes deviate from what one would expect of Roman engineering. Certain corridors twist unnecessarily, doors open into solid rock, and chambers appear oversized relative to any known Roman function. Such anomalies raise questions about whether these chambers were repurposed, ritualistic, or intentionally designed to confuse intruders. The Roman footprint is clear, yet it is layered upon and intertwined with the remnants of older civilizations, creating a palimpsest that defies easy interpretation. Excavations beneath the Temple Mount added another layer of intrigue. While much of the site is politically sensitive and access is restricted, reports from archaeologists indicate that a complex network of subterranean passages exists beneath one of the most sacred areas of the city. Chambers here are of extraordinary craftsmanship, with carefully carved walls, precise stonework, and niches that may have held ceremonial or ritualistic objects. Some rooms appear deliberately hidden, accessible only through narrow tunnels or concealed entrances. In some cases, entrances documented centuries ago are now bricked over, their purpose intentionally erased. The combination of craftsmanship, deliberate concealment, and restricted access underscores the profound significance these chambers may have held in religious, social, or political contexts. The Crusader period introduced yet more complexity. Crusaders often repurposed existing tunnels and chambers for military or defensive purposes, sometimes expanding spaces, sometimes sealing passages. Records from the period describe hidden chambers that stored supplies, weapons, and sometimes sacred relics. Some rooms were apparently used to hide important figures during conflicts, while others were described as mysterious spaces whose original purpose was unknown even to the Crusaders. These accounts suggest that the subterranean city was not only a functional extension of the urban environment, but also a repository of secrets, layered with meaning that span generations. Ottoman-era documents add another dimension to the mystery. Surveyors and administrators recorded unusual features beneath Jerusalem, chambers, cisterns, and tunnels that were noted but rarely explored. In some cases, these reports highlight the difficulty of distinguishing between practical and ceremonial use. Some chambers were sealed and walled over. Others were left intact but inaccessible. Scholars speculate that political or religious motivations influenced these decisions, and that the concealment of certain chambers may have been as deliberate in the Ottoman period as it had been in earlier times. Across centuries, there emerges a consistent pattern. Some underground spaces are meant to be discovered, others are meant to remain hidden. Modern technology has transformed the exploration of these tunnels. Ground-penetrating radar, 3D scanning, and advanced imaging techniques have revealed hidden voids beneath Jerusalem that were previously unknown. These discoveries confirm that the underground city is more extensive than earlier scholars imagined. Some voids connect chambers already documented, forming complex networks that twist beneath streets, squares, and sacred sites. Others appear isolated, inaccessible except through extreme measures. Every new discovery challenges prior assumptions and raises fresh questions. What was the purpose of these spaces? Were they purely functional, symbolic, or both? And who determined which chambers should remain hidden from the world above? Despite centuries of exploration, many chambers remain sealed, their entrances bricked or concealed by rubble. Some archaeologists suggest that the sealing was deliberate, intended to protect valuable artifacts or knowledge from being disturbed. Others argue that the passages may have been dangerous, structurally unstable, or contaminated in some way, requiring closure for safety. Whatever the reason, the persistence of these sealed chambers reinforces the sense that Jerusalem's underground is a place of deliberate mystery, a city within a city, carefully curated across generations. The human experience of entering these chambers cannot be overstated. Descending into darkness, explorers encounter cool, damp air, uneven floors, and the faint scent of centuries-old stone and dust. Every footstep echoes strangely, magnifying the sense of isolation. Shadows dance across walls, distorting perception and heightening tension. In this environment, the imagination awakens. Every niche, every mark on the wall, every indentation in the stone can take on significance. Explorers often report a mixture of fear, awe, and reverence, an acute awareness that they are interacting with spaces that have endured centuries, untouched by modern life. Artifacts found within these chambers offer glimpses of human presence and activity. Pottery shards, coins, and tools speak to daily life. Fragments of religious objects hint at spiritual practice. Inscriptions, sometimes cryptic, provide tantalizing clues about purpose and meaning. Yet the artifacts alone rarely tell the whole story. Context is everything. A shard found in a sealed chamber may suggest deliberate storage, ritual activity, or temporary refuge. Each find must be interpreted within a network of architectural, historical, and cultural evidence, creating a complex puzzle that archaeologists attempt to solve with care and patience. Perhaps most fascinating is the layering of time evident within the underground city. Roman chambers coexist with Byzantine additions, Crusader modifications, and Ottoman renovations. Walls built in one era are repurposed or reinforced in another. Staircases once used for escape or ceremonial movement are redirected or blocked. This layering creates a sense of continuity across centuries, while simultaneously obscuring the original purpose of many chambers. To navigate the underground is to engage with history directly, tracing the steps of countless individuals across generations, each leaving a subtle imprint on the spaces they occupied or concealed. The combination of practical, spiritual, and secretive use underscores the multidimensionality of the underground city. Some chambers functioned as storage or refuge, others as sacred or ceremonial spaces. Still others may have served political purposes, concealing sensitive materials or providing discreet passageways during times of conflict. The overlap of these functions creates a network that is not merely physical but symbolic, a subterranean reflection of human intention, fear, and ambition. Every corridor and chamber is a testament to the complexity of life beneath the city above. Even today, the underground chambers evoke fascination and speculation. Archaeologists, historians, and explorers are drawn not only by the promise of discovery, but by the psychological and emotional resonance of these spaces. Darkness, isolation, and the tactile presence of ancient construction provoke awe and humility. Descending into a chamber is a journey into the city's memory, a confrontation with centuries of human life, labor, belief, and secrecy. The deeper one ventures, the more the chambers challenge understanding, demanding patience, courage, and imagination. In sum, the forgotten tunnels of Jerusalem are not merely physical structures. They are historical, cultural, and emotional repositories. They capture the ingenuity, devotion, and secrecy of countless generations, preserving evidence of life above and below. Every corridor, staircase, and chamber is a fragment of a larger narrative, a story that is as much about human behavior, fear, and belief as it is about stone and mortar. And as modern explorers continue to probe these spaces, each discovery illuminates the past while simultaneously revealing the enduring mystery that lies beneath the city. A labyrinth of hidden chambers that resist explanation, yet beckon irresistibly to those willing to descend into the unknown. The underground chambers beneath Jerusalem are more than mere remnants of the past. They are monuments to human ingenuity, fear, and ambition. Among the most enigmatic are those dating to the Roman period, a time when the city was both a strategic outpost and a center of complex cultural interplay. Roman engineers were master planners, their expertise evident in aqueducts, roads, and fortifications. Yet, in Jerusalem, the Roman imprint is strangely irregular, intertwined with older structures, and sometimes interrupted by corridors that lead to nothing or chambers whose purpose remains unclear. Scholars suggest that these anomalies are deliberate, reflecting a dual intent: practicality on one hand, secrecy on the other. Roman tunnels and chambers often display a level of precision that is remarkable, especially given the era's technological limitations. Walls are carefully leveled, corridors straight and proportionate, ceilings reinforced with arches or carved in a way that distributes weight evenly. Yet, amid this order, anomalies appear. Rooms that are unusually large, niches that seem purposeless, staircases that twist unpredictably or vanish into solid rock. These irregularities have fueled speculation for centuries. Were these chambers storage rooms, ceremonial halls, or something more clandestine? And if they were deliberately confusing, was the intent to protect sacred knowledge, treasures, or perhaps even political secrets. Excavations reveal that Roman chambers often intersect with older, pre-Roman structures. Beneath the city, layers from the Herodian period coexist with Roman additions. Some chambers show signs of adaptation. Walls rebuilt, ceilings reinforced, floors relayed. In certain cases, earlier spaces appear to have been intentionally obscured, their entrances walled over or concealed beneath debris. This layering complicates the task of archaeologists. Determining the original function of a chamber often requires a careful synthesis of architectural analysis, material culture, and historical records. Every stone, groove, and carving becomes a clue in unraveling a puzzle centuries in the making. Water management was one of the Romans' defining skills, and their underground systems in Jerusalem are no exception. Cisterns, aqueducts, and channels were designed to ensure a steady supply of water, a crucial resource in a city prone to siege. Some chambers were directly connected to these systems, indicating a functional relationship. Yet even here anomalies appear. Certain cisterns are placed in locations that seem illogical, connected to tunnels that lead nowhere or chambers too large for simple storage. Archaeologists theorize that these spaces may have had secondary purposes, perhaps ritualistic or symbolic. The careful positioning of chambers in relation to water sources hints at a broader vision, one that blends utility with meaning. The psychological impact of entering these Roman-era chambers is profound. Modern archaeologists describe a sense of awe mixed with unease when stepping into spaces untouched for millennia. The air is cool, damp, and heavy with the scent of earth and stone. Shadows stretch across walls, making familiar features seem unfamiliar. The narrow corridors and unexpected turns heighten tension, creating a sensation of disorientation. Even seasoned researchers report moments of fear and wonder, the realization that they are standing in the same spaces navigated by people 2,000 years ago, people whose intentions, fears, and priorities are only partially known. Artifacts discovered in Roman chambers are equally enigmatic. Pottery shards, coins, and remnants of tools provide evidence of daily life, yet they are often found in contexts that raise more questions than answers. A storage vessel might appear in a chamber that seems ceremonial. A coin might be placed deliberately in a niche that defies explanation. In some cases, objects are found that seem intentionally concealed, hinting at human behaviors driven by secrecy, reverence, or perhaps even superstition. Each artifact serves as both evidence and enigma, revealing fragments of history while simultaneously highlighting the limits of understanding. Some chambers are marked by inscriptions and carvings, though many remain indecipherable. Letters, symbols, and geometric patterns are etched into walls, sometimes in places that are difficult to access, suggesting that only certain individuals were meant to observe them. The meaning of these markings is uncertain. Some scholars posit religious significance, others practical instructions, while some argue they were symbolic warnings or protective talismans. The consistency of markings across chambers implies intentionality, yet their precise purpose remains a mystery. These inscriptions are windows into the mindset of the Romans and their contemporaries, a glimpse into a world where knowledge was both power and danger. The relationship between Roman chambers and later periods adds further complexity. Byzantine, Crusader, and Ottoman modifications often repurposed existing structures, sometimes enhancing them, other times obstructing or concealing them. A Roman room may be extended into a Byzantine hall, a staircase rerouted by Crusaders, or a niche sealed by Ottoman builders. These interventions were practical, symbolic, or protective, reflecting the continuous negotiation between past and present. The layers of construction are not merely chronological. They are dialogical, each generation leaving a subtle imprint on the spaces they inherited. Secrecy emerges as a recurring theme in Roman-era chambers. Certain rooms were deliberately concealed, with entrances hidden behind false walls or sealed with heavy stones. Archaeologists speculate that these spaces may have held sensitive materials, documents, religious artifacts, or valuables that required protection. In times of conflict, such concealment could be a matter of survival. The intentional obscuring of chambers also raises intriguing questions about knowledge and access. Who was permitted to enter these spaces? Were they restricted to select priests, officials, or military personnel? And what was considered too dangerous or sacred to reveal? Evidence suggests that some chambers may have served ceremonial or spiritual purposes. The unusual dimensions of certain rooms, combined with inscriptions, carvings, and positioning, imply that they were more than functional spaces. Rooms with high ceilings, precisely aligned niches, or symbolic layouts hint at ritualistic activity. Some scholars propose that these chambers were designed for initiations, sacred rites, or secret meetings. Others suggest a dual purpose: practical storage above, spiritual significance below. The ambiguity of function adds to the chamber's allure, inviting speculation and fostering a sense of mystery that has endured for centuries. The architectural sophistication of Roman chambers is striking. Arches, vaults, and precise stone joints demonstrate mastery of engineering principles. Even minor details, such as ventilation channels or drainage systems, reveal advanced planning. Yet within this precision, irregularities persist. Rooms with irregular dimensions, dead-end corridors, and hidden niches suggest a conscious blending of order and obfuscation. These design choices may have been intended to control access, protect valuable contents, or convey symbolic meaning. The combination of technical skill and deliberate concealment illustrates a worldview in which functionality and secrecy were intertwined, reflecting both practical concerns and broader cultural or spiritual priorities. The exploration of Roman-era chambers also reveals insights into social organization. The labor required to carve tunnels, erect stone walls, and construct chambers implies coordinated effort, skilled craftsmanship, and oversight. Workers may have included slaves, artisans, or specialized teams, all operating under supervision. The selection of materials, alignment of walls, and integration with existing structures indicate careful planning and strategic execution. These chambers were not random or haphazard. They were products of deliberate design, reflecting the priorities and knowledge of those who built them. Modern archaeology continues to uncover new Roman chambers, often in unexpected locations beneath residential neighborhoods, religious sites, or public squares. Ground-penetrating radar, 3D mapping, and advanced excavation techniques reveal networks that are far more extensive than previously imagined. Some chambers connect to older structures. Others remain isolated. The discovery of new spaces frequently challenges assumptions about the scale, purpose, and sophistication of Roman underground construction. Every excavation not only illuminates history but also deepens the sense of mystery, revealing the limits of contemporary understanding. The experience of exploring these chambers is as much psychological as it is physical. Descending into darkness, researchers confront isolation, disorientation, and the weight of history. The ambient sounds, dripping water, shifting dust, distant echoes, amplify the sense of being in a space untouched for millennia. Even the smallest inscriptions or architectural features command attention, demanding interpretation and respect. Each corridor, staircase, and room evokes awe, fear, and curiosity, reinforcing the perception that these chambers are more than physical spaces. They are repositories of memory, culture, and human intention. Artifacts and structural features suggest that Roman chambers were multifunctional. Some were storage spaces for food, water, or tools. Others appear to have been used for ceremonial activity. Niches and recesses may have held religious artifacts, documents, or symbols of power. Certain chambers exhibit alignments or orientations that suggest astronomical or calendrical significance. The combination of practical utility, spiritual purpose, and deliberate concealment reflects a sophisticated understanding of architecture as both functional and symbolic. In the end, Roman-era chambers beneath Jerusalem embody a paradox. They are simultaneously known and unknown. Scholars have documented their existence, mapped their dimensions, and cataloged their features. Yet the full story of their purpose, function, and significance remains elusive. They are historical artifacts, engineering marvels, spiritual spaces, and enigmatic puzzles all at once. Each discovery prompts new questions. Why were these chambers built? Who used them? And what secrets were deemed too valuable to leave exposed? Above all, The Roman chambers remind us that Jerusalem's subterranean city is not merely an extension of the urban landscape. It is a testament to human ingenuity, fear, ambition, and secrecy. These chambers, carved in stone with skill and foresight, reflect the complexity of life beneath the city above. They are spaces where history, architecture, spirituality, and secrecy converge, challenging explorers and historians to reconcile the tangible with the mysterious. The Roman imprint on Jerusalem's underground is thus both profound and enigmatic, a legacy that continues to captivate and puzzle all who dare to descend into its depths. As the Roman Empire waned and the Byzantine period emerged, Jerusalem underwent a transformation not only above ground but beneath its streets. The Byzantine era brought a renewed religious and cultural significance to the city, emphasizing Christian theology, ritual, and pilgrimage. Above ground, grand churches and basilicas rose, their mosaics glittering in the sunlight, while the streets thrummed with activity. Below ground, however, the story was subtler, layered with intrigue and the shadow of centuries past. The chambers that had once been purely Roman were now subject to reinterpretation, adaptation, and deliberate concealment, reflecting a city in flux, negotiating between history, religion, and survival. Archaeological evidence shows that Byzantine builders were meticulous in their reuse of existing structures. Roman tunnels were reinforced, chambers repurposed, and new corridors carved to serve spiritual or functional needs. Some chambers were transformed into worship spaces, perhaps to house relics, sacred oils, or ceremonial objects. Niches, previously unexplained, may have held icons or shrines. The Byzantine approach to the underground was both practical and symbolic. Practical in the sense of utilizing pre-existing structures for immediate needs, symbolic in preserving or enhancing the sacred nature of spaces long regarded as special or secret. The process of repurposing was not uniform. Some Roman chambers were left almost intact, their original form respected, while others were extensively modified. Walls were reinforced, ceilings reshaped, and floors relayed to accommodate Byzantine religious activity. Staircases were redirected, tunnels extended, and niches recarved. The resulting complexity sometimes makes it nearly impossible for modern archaeologists to distinguish Roman intent from Byzantine adaptation. Yet this very complexity reveals the Byzantine worldview, a city that honored the past, even as it asserted a new religious and cultural order. The religious significance of Byzantine underground chambers is particularly compelling. Pilgrims visiting Jerusalem in the 4th to 7th centuries often wrote of subterranean sanctuaries, crypts, and chapels hidden beneath the city. These were spaces of intense devotion, sometimes accessible only to clergy or elite pilgrims. Accounts describe the sense of awe and fear evoked by descending narrow staircases into dimly lit chambers, where the faithful encountered relics, holy water, and inscriptions in Greek or Latin. Even centuries later, these accounts provide tantalizing clues about how the Byzantines perceived the subterranean city, a sacred landscape intertwined with the temporal one above. Some chambers, however, remained mysterious even to the Byzantines. Certain rooms, large and meticulously constructed, appear to have had no clear function, while others were sealed, with entrances walled over. The reasons for concealment are debated. Some scholars propose protective purposes, safeguarding relics from theft or desecration. Others suggest symbolic significance, representing spaces of divine secrecy or restricted spiritual knowledge. Regardless of the precise intent, it is clear that the Byzantine approach to the underground was selective, preserving certain spaces while modifying or obscuring others, a practice that would continue under subsequent empires. Byzantine inscriptions and carvings provide another layer of insight. Greek and Latin text, often etched carefully into walls, may indicate ownership, dedication, or liturgical use. Some inscriptions are purely decorative, while others contain cryptic messages, prayers, or symbols whose meanings are lost to time. Niches with geometric or floral patterns suggest ceremonial use, perhaps aligned with religious calendars or celestial events. The combination of practical, spiritual, and decorative features underscores the multifaceted nature of Byzantine chambers, reflecting a worldview in which function, beauty, and sanctity were inseparable. The spatial organization of Byzantine chambers is striking. Certain corridors lead to clusters of rooms arranged symmetrically, suggesting planned sequences for ritual or processional use. Other tunnels twist unpredictably, terminating in dead ends or concealed niches. Scholars debate whether these irregularities were intentional or the result of adapting pre-existing Roman tunnels. Some argue that Byzantine architects deliberately created complexity to enhance sacredness or control access, ensuring that only the initiated could reach particular chambers. This interplay of accessibility and concealment reflects a nuanced understanding of space as both functional and symbolic. Water management continued to play a vital role during the Byzantine period. Cisterns and aqueducts constructed during the Roman era were maintained, extended, or adapted to serve ritual or practical needs. Some chambers were situated near water sources, perhaps for purification rites or ceremonial washing. Others remained dry, suggesting distinct functional purposes. The integration of water systems with sacred or mysterious chambers indicates a sophisticated approach, blending engineering, spirituality, and symbolism. Water was not merely practical. It became a medium through which the divine and human intersected beneath the city. Accounts from Byzantine pilgrims further enrich our understanding. Journals and letters describe the awe-inspiring experience of descending into chambers hidden beneath churches or public squares. Pilgrims wrote of dimly lit corridors, the echo of footsteps on stone floors, and the weight of centuries pressing down. They encountered rooms whose purpose they could not discern, spaces that felt sacred even without understanding their function. These narratives reveal not only the physical reality of the chambers but also the emotional and psychological impact they had on those who entered. The underground city was alive with meaning, a place of devotion, fear, and curiosity. Art and decoration in Byzantine chambers reflect a deliberate engagement with the senses. Mosaics, frescoes, and carvings adorned certain rooms, transforming simple stone chambers into spaces of contemplation and ritual. Niches and recesses may have housed icons, relics, or ceremonial implements, while corridors were sometimes lined with inscriptions that guided movement or imparted spiritual instruction. The interplay of light and shadow, sound and silence, created an environment that was both intimate and awe-inspiring. Descending into these spaces was a sensory and emotional journey, connecting the faithful with centuries of devotion and secrecy. Some chambers, however, resisted modification. Large Roman halls or uniquely constructed spaces were often left largely intact, suggesting a respect for the original builder's intent. Archaeologists speculate that these rooms were recognized as sacred, mysterious, or symbolically potent, and that any alteration might compromise their perceived power. This selective preservation demonstrates a continuity of reverence, highlighting a Byzantine awareness of history and an understanding that some spaces were best left unchanged, their mystery preserved for future generations. Political and social factors also influenced the underground city. Byzantine authorities were aware of the strategic importance of certain chambers. Secret passages could provide escape routes, secure storage, or protected meeting spaces. Some tunnels may have facilitated discreet movement of clergy, pilgrims, or officials, allowing them to navigate the city without drawing attention. The intersection of religious, social, and political needs created a subterranean landscape that was multifunctional, complex, and layered with meaning. Byzantine engineers were skilled at integrating new chambers with existing structures. In some cases, Roman tunnels were expanded to create ceremonial halls. In others, new rooms were carved into bedrock, carefully aligned with pre-existing corridors. The resulting network of chambers is intricate, with multiple levels, staircases, and hidden recesses. This architectural sophistication reflects a culture that valued both functionality and symbolism, recognizing that the spaces beneath the city were as important as those above. Archaeological discoveries suggest that some Byzantine chambers were used to store relics or sacred objects. Containers, inscriptions, and niches indicate careful preservation and controlled access. The concealment of valuable or sacred items reflects both practical concern and spiritual reverence. In some cases, chambers were deliberately sealed, with entrances blocked or hidden, perhaps as a protective measure during periods of political instability or religious conflict. These practices demonstrate an ongoing awareness of the power of secrecy and the importance of preserving select knowledge for posterity. The Byzantine period also witnessed the transformation of underground chambers into pilgrimage destinations. Some tunnels led directly to sacred sites, providing pilgrims with intimate, private spaces for prayer and reflection. The journey through narrow corridors and dimly lit chambers heightened emotional engagement, creating a profound sense of connection with the divine and with history. Pilgrims' accounts describe the sensory impact of these spaces: the cool stone, the echoing footsteps, the faint scent of incense or earth, all contributing to a heightened spiritual experience. In many cases, Byzantine modifications were layered atop Roman foundations in ways that enhanced mystery and complexity. Staircases were rerouted, corridors extended, and chambers interconnected to create sequences of movement that were both functional and symbolic. The integration of old and new structures demonstrates a deliberate blending of history, spirituality, and practical need. These layers of adaptation reflect a sophisticated understanding of space, emphasizing that underground chambers were not merely passive voids but active environments shaped by human intention. The emotional impact of exploring Byzantine chambers remains profound. Modern archaeologists report feelings of awe, reverence, and even fear when descending into these spaces. The darkness, silence, and cool stone create an atmosphere that is both intimate and intimidating. Every artifact, niche, and inscription commands attention, reminding researchers of the centuries of human activity that have unfolded in these hidden spaces. The chambers are living histories, where past and present intersect in tangible, visceral ways. Byzantine chambers are also notable for their ingenuity and craftsmanship. Arches, vaults, and finely carved niches reflect advanced engineering and aesthetic sensibility. Certain chambers exhibit unusual alignments, perhaps connected to celestial observations or liturgical calendars. The precision of construction, combined with selective concealment, suggests a culture attuned to both the practical and the symbolic, recognizing that architecture could communicate power, sanctity, and mystery. Ultimately, the Byzantine period left an indelible mark on Jerusalem's underground city. Roman foundations were honored, adapted, or transformed. Chambers were preserved, modified, or concealed, and the network of tunnels grew increasingly complex, blending functionality, spirituality, and secrecy. These subterranean spaces reveal a society deeply engaged with its history, faith, and environment, creating a hidden world that resonates across centuries. For modern observers, the Byzantine chambers provide not only historical insight but also emotional resonance. They are spaces of devotion, secrecy, ingenuity, and mystery. Each corridor, staircase, and room is a portal into a past where human intention, fear, and faith converged. Exploring these chambers is an act of connection across time, a journey into the heart of a city that has always lived both above and below, in plain sight and in shadow, revealing that the true essence of Jerusalem is as much hidden as it is visible. The arrival of the Crusaders in Jerusalem in the late 11th century marked a dramatic shift in the city's political, cultural, and spiritual landscape. Above ground, the streets and religious sites were transformed as Crusader architects, soldiers, and clergy asserted their presence over a city layered with centuries of history. Beneath the streets, however, the impact was more subtle, yet equally profound. The Crusaders inherited a subterranean city that was already complex, layered with Roman, Herodian, and Byzantine chambers. What they found was not merely tunnels and storage spaces, but a network imbued with mystery, secrecy, and sacred significance. The Crusaders were practical, strategic, and often ruthless in their use of Jerusalem's underground. Some chambers were repurposed for storage, protecting weapons, food, and valuables in a city prone to sieges and conflict. Others were converted into hidden passages for movement, enabling soldiers, clergy, or pilgrims to traverse the city unseen. There are accounts of secret staircases leading from key churches and fortifications into deep tunnels, providing escape routes or secure transit corridors. These modifications reveal a tactical understanding of the underground's potential, a city within the city, accessible only to those who knew its secrets. Yet the Crusaders also recognized the sacred potential of these hidden chambers. Pilgrimage, ritual, and devotion remained central to their presence in Jerusalem. Some chambers were transformed into crypts, chapels, or repositories for holy relics. Niches previously carved in Roman or Byzantine times were repurposed to hold crucifixes, sacred oils, or relic fragments. The integration of practical military use with spiritual significance highlights the Crusader approach to Jerusalem's underground as both a strategic asset and a sacred landscape. It was a subterranean reflection of the city above, simultaneously a fortress, a sanctuary, and a repository of faith. Archaeological evidence shows that the Crusaders were selective in their modifications. Some Roman or Byzantine chambers were left intact, perhaps out of reverence or practical necessity. Others were expanded, reinforced, or connected to create continuous passages that served specific purposes. In certain areas, staircases were redirected, tunnels widened, or rooms sealed, reflecting an understanding of how to control access and movement. These interventions suggest a dual motive: to preserve and honor the past while asserting new power and functionality for contemporary needs. Stories from contemporary chroniclers reveal the psychological and emotional impact of the underground on Crusaders and pilgrims. Descending into dark, narrow corridors, often lit only by torchlight, evoked fear, awe, and reverence. Accounts describe chambers where the ceiling vanished into shadow, corridors that twisted unpredictably, and inscriptions that seemed almost alive. Some chroniclers mention rooms whose function was mysterious even to those who used them, their purpose hidden beneath layers of stone and history. These narratives convey a deep sense of the unknown, emphasizing that the underground city was not merely physical space, but a realm of human emotion, belief, and intrigue. Crusader adaptations also reveal an awareness of secrecy and control. Certain chambers were deliberately concealed, with entrances hidden behind false walls or sealed with heavy stones. These spaces may have held sensitive items, religious relics, strategic supplies, or documents, or served as clandestine meeting points. The concealment of chambers reflects a continuity with Roman and Byzantine practices, demonstrating that secrecy beneath Jerusalem was a persistent concern across empires. The act of hiding was not simply practical. It was symbolic, asserting ownership, authority, and control over knowledge and access. The architectural ingenuity of the Crusaders is evident in the way they integrated new structures with pre-existing chambers. Roman tunnels were expanded, Byzantine halls were reinforced, and new corridors were carved to meet specific military or religious needs. The resulting underground network is intricate and multidimensional, with overlapping layers of construction that challenge modern interpretation. Staircases often twist, corridors intersect at unexpected angles, and rooms are arranged in sequences that suggest deliberate design for both functionality and secrecy. This complexity reflects a sophisticated understanding of the underground city as both strategic infrastructure and sacred space. Pilgrims visiting Jerusalem during the Crusader period frequently reported encounters with subterranean chambers, describing the sense of awe and disorientation they felt. Narrow staircases led to hidden chapels, rooms containing sacred relics, or corridors connecting to other secret passages. The interplay of light and shadow, the cool stone, and the echoing footsteps all contributed to a heightened emotional experience. Pilgrims' writings emphasize the psychological impact of the underground, revealing that these spaces were not merely functional, but also profoundly affecting on those who entered. Art and decoration continued to play a role in Crusader chambers, though often more austere than in Byzantine times. Some rooms were adorned with simple carvings, cruciform symbols, or painted icons. Niches and recesses held sacred objects, while corridors may have been used for processional movement. The combination of visual cues and architectural complexity created an environment that was both practical and spiritually resonant. Descending into these spaces was a journey through time, faith, and secrecy, a physical and emotional experience intertwined with the city's layered history. Military considerations were paramount for the Crusaders. Some chambers were adapted to store weapons, food, or provisions, ensuring that supplies were protected during sieges. Hidden passages allowed discreet movement of troops or pilgrims, while sealed rooms provided secure storage for valuables. The strategic integration of underground spaces into the broader defense of the city demonstrates the Crusaders' understanding of the subterranean as a tactical resource. Yet even these practical modifications were often executed with an awareness of the sacred, blending the secular and the spiritual in ways that reinforced the dual nature of the underground city. Accounts of battles and sieges reveal the underground's importance in times of conflict. Chambers served as hiding places for civilians, storage for supplies, or escape routes for clergy and leaders. The network of tunnels allowed movement without exposure to attackers, creating a city beneath the city that was both protective and elusive. Chroniclers describe secret staircases, concealed doors, and hidden rooms that enabled survival and strategic advantage. These accounts highlight the enduring functionality of the subterranean city, demonstrating that the chambers were not merely historical relics but active elements in the life and defense of Jerusalem. Secrecy was reinforced by physical barriers. False walls, bricked-up entrances, and narrow passageways created a deliberate sense of confusion and inaccessibility. Certain chambers were accessible only to those with specific knowledge or keys, ensuring that sensitive areas remained protected. The combination of concealment, strategic design, and restricted access reflects a sophisticated approach to security, emphasizing that the underground was as much about controlling knowledge and access as it was about physical space. Crusader chambers also reveal continuity with earlier periods in terms of spiritual and symbolic significance. Some rooms appear to have been preserved for their sacred associations, while others were adapted to house relics or objects of religious importance. The interplay of architecture, art, and ritual underscores a consistent recognition of the underground city as a space of both practical and spiritual importance. By engaging with these chambers, Crusaders were not only asserting control over the city, but also participating in a continuum of faith and secrecy that stretched back centuries. The integration of Roman, Byzantine, and Crusader modifications created a subterranean landscape of remarkable complexity. Staircases twist unpredictably, corridors intersect at unusual angles, and rooms vary in size and purpose. Archaeologists note that these adaptations often maintain a delicate balance between accessibility and concealment, reflecting the Crusaders' dual priorities, ensuring functional utility while preserving or enhancing the mysterious and sacred qualities of the chambers. Each layer of construction tells a story of human intention, adaptation, and reverence. Modern explorations of Crusader chambers continue to reveal surprises. Ground-penetrating radar and careful excavation uncover hidden rooms, secret passageways, and architectural features that challenge assumptions about the scale and sophistication of the Crusader underground. New discoveries often confirm historical accounts, yet they also highlight the limits of current understanding. Chambers previously thought to be simple storage spaces reveal intricate planning, ceremonial potential, or concealed connections to other parts of the subterranean city. Each finding deepens the mystery and underscores the enduring complexity of these spaces. The emotional impact of exploring Crusader chambers is profound. Descending into darkness, modern archaeologists experience a mixture of awe, fear, and reverence. The narrow corridors, echoing footsteps, and ancient stone evoke the presence of countless individuals who lived, worshipped, hid, and strategized in these spaces. Artifacts, inscriptions, and architectural features remind researchers of the centuries of human activity layered within the chambers. Every room is a testament to the ingenuity, faith, and secrecy of those who came before. In summary, the Crusader period represents a pivotal chapter in Jerusalem's subterranean history. The underground chambers were adapted, expanded, and sometimes concealed, reflecting a sophisticated blend of military strategy, religious devotion, and respect for history. These spaces were not static. They evolved, layered upon earlier Roman and Byzantine foundations, creating a labyrinthine city beneath the city. For those who explore, the Crusader chambers offer a tangible connection to the past, revealing the interplay of faith, power, and secrecy that defines Jerusalem's hidden world. The Crusaders' interventions demonstrate that the underground city was never merely functional. It was a living, adaptive environment, shaped by human intention, fear, and reverence. Every corridor, staircase, and chamber holds a story, a fragment of a larger narrative that spans centuries. Descending into these spaces is to step into the continuum of history itself, a journey that reveals both what has been preserved and what remains hidden, inviting exploration, speculation, and awe. By the early 16th century, the Ottoman Empire had established dominion over Jerusalem, and with it came another layer of transformation for the city's underground labyrinth. The Ottomans inherited a city that had been shaped by Roman precision, Byzantine devotion, and Crusader strategy. Beneath the bustling streets, a complex network of chambers, tunnels, and cisterns had accumulated centuries of purpose, mystery, and adaptation. For the Ottoman administrators and architects, these subterranean spaces were both practical infrastructure and repositories of history, religion, and human ingenuity. Their approach to these hidden chambers would leave a distinct and lasting mark, preserving the enigma while adding new dimensions of secrecy and control. Ottoman surveyors and engineers were meticulous in recording the subterranean city. Although many documents have been lost or remain obscure, surviving records indicate a conscious effort to maintain critical structures, reinforce existing chambers, and seal off areas considered dangerous or sensitive. The Ottoman authorities were aware that the underground city was not merely a series of tunnels, but a repository of knowledge, power, and sacred items. Certain chambers were repurposed for storage of supplies, grain, and water, reflecting the empire's need for practical functionality in times of stability and conflict alike. Yet alongside practical use, there existed a deep respect for the sacred and historical significance of these spaces, particularly those connected to religious institutions or pilgrimage routes. Ottoman modifications were often subtle, designed to integrate with existing Roman, Byzantine, and Crusader constructions rather than replace them outright. In many cases, staircases were reinforced, tunnels stabilized, and chambers repaired without altering their original layout. This approach preserved the historical integrity of the spaces while ensuring their continued usability. The Ottomans also sealed certain chambers, sometimes bricking entrances, sometimes covering them with stone slabs or rubble. The purpose of concealment was multifaceted: to protect valuable items, restrict access to sacred or sensitive areas, and prevent accidental collapses or misuse of unstable structures. In doing so, they maintained a delicate balance between preservation and control. The Ottoman period also introduced an administrative layer to the underground city. Officials were acutely aware of the potential for smuggling, theft, or unauthorized use of subterranean spaces. Regulations required careful oversight of who could access certain chambers, and local records occasionally note the punishment of individuals found trespassing or tampering with hidden spaces. These administrative measures reflect a recognition that the underground city was not merely passive infrastructure. It was a controlled environment where knowledge, access, and movement had to be managed carefully. Certain rooms were designated for official storage, others for religious purposes, while some were deliberately restricted, their purpose known only to select authorities. Religious influence remained paramount during Ottoman control. Jerusalem continued to be a destination for pilgrims of multiple faiths, and underground chambers associated with sacred sites were maintained and occasionally adapted for ritual use. Niches previously carved in Byzantine or Crusader times were preserved to house relics, sacred vessels, or ceremonial implements. Some chambers were repurposed to facilitate private prayer or meditation, providing secluded spaces where pilgrims could experience spiritual reflection in darkness and quiet. The Ottomans understood the symbolic power of these spaces. Descending into the underground was a journey of devotion, reflection, and connection to centuries of sacred history. The physical characteristics of Ottoman-era modifications reveal ingenuity and subtlety. Reinforcements often took the form of carefully placed arches, stone supports, and stabilizing buttresses. In chambers deemed structurally fragile, ceilings were strengthened and walls braced, ensuring their longevity. Some staircases were rebuilt with smoother steps to facilitate safer access, while narrow corridors were widened to accommodate greater traffic, particularly near religious or administrative centers. These modifications enhanced usability while preserving the chamber's historical and mystical qualities, demonstrating the Ottomans' ability to integrate functionality with reverence. Secrecy continued to play a significant role under Ottoman administration. Certain chambers were deliberately hidden or obscured, accessible only through concealed entrances, false walls, or narrow, winding tunnels. Some spaces were sealed for centuries, effectively removing them from public knowledge. Archaeologists have discovered bricked-up doors and blocked staircases that align with Ottoman-era construction techniques, suggesting intentional concealment. The reasons for secrecy were manifold: protecting sacred relics, restricting access to strategic areas, or preserving spaces of historical significance. The Ottomans were thus part of a continuum in Jerusalem's history, maintaining the tradition of hidden chambers established by Roman, Byzantine, and Crusader predecessors. Water management remained a critical concern. Ottoman engineers maintained and expanded aqueducts, cisterns, and channels inherited from previous civilizations. Chambers connected to these systems were often repurposed as reservoirs or storage spaces for essential supplies. In some cases, access to water-related chambers was controlled, ensuring that key resources were protected during droughts, sieges, or local conflicts. The integration of water systems with storage and sacred chambers highlights the multifaceted nature of Ottoman modifications: practical, strategic, and symbolic all at once. Archaeological evidence from Ottoman modifications also reveals an interest in preserving structural continuity. Chambers that had been sealed by Crusaders were often left intact, sometimes reinforced to prevent collapse. Other areas, particularly those at risk of deterioration, were stabilized with stone supports and careful masonry. This dual approach of preservation and selective adaptation ensured that the subterranean city remained functional, accessible, and historically coherent. In doing so, the Ottomans contributed to the survival of chambers that continue to intrigue modern explorers and researchers. Pilgrim narratives from the Ottoman period further illuminate the significance of the underground. Travelers recorded their experiences of descending into hidden chambers beneath holy sites, describing the mixture of fear, awe, and reverence inspired by these spaces. Accounts speak of narrow corridors, dim lighting, the cool and humid air, and the echoes of footsteps reverberating through chambers untouched for centuries. Some chambers were described as sanctuaries, others as mysterious repositories of relics and inscriptions. These narratives underscore the psychological and emotional impact of the underground city, reinforcing its role as a space of devotion, mystery, and human presence. Ottoman chambers sometimes contained inscriptions, carvings, or symbolic markings, though generally less elaborate than those of earlier periods. Simple geometric patterns, dates, and occasional religious symbols indicate either functional labeling or devotional significance. Some markings may have served as guides, helping officials, clergy, or pilgrims navigate complex tunnels. Others may have had protective or symbolic purposes, preserving traditions of secrecy, sanctity, and human intention embedded in the underground city. Artifacts discovered in Ottoman-era chambers provide glimpses into daily life and ritual. Containers, coins, pottery, and tools suggest that some spaces were used for storage or maintenance, while objects related to religious practice, lamps, chalices, or fragments of manuscripts, indicate sacred function. Occasionally, items appear deliberately concealed, placed in niches or sealed rooms, suggesting awareness of both practical and spiritual security. The combination of ordinary and extraordinary artifacts reinforces the sense that the underground was multifunctional, a blend of the mundane and the mystical. The architectural layering of the Ottoman period is especially fascinating. Roman, Byzantine, and Crusader structures were integrated with subtle Ottoman interventions, creating a subterranean palimpsest. Each generation added, modified, or concealed spaces, leaving behind a complex network that is difficult to interpret without careful archaeological analysis. Staircases may intersect with earlier tunnels. Niches may overlap with previous carvings. Corridors may traverse multiple layers of construction. The result is a city beneath a city, a labyrinth where time is literally stacked in stone. Ottoman secrecy extended beyond religious or practical purposes. Certain chambers were likely used for administrative or political reasons, accessible only to officials or trusted individuals. Rooms may have housed sensitive documents, treasure, or provisions intended for times of crisis. Access to these chambers was tightly controlled, reinforcing the idea that the underground was a space where knowledge, power, and safety intersected. The presence of deliberately concealed rooms demonstrates continuity with historical practices of secrecy that had persisted across multiple empires. Modern exploration of Ottoman chambers highlights both their preservation and mystery. Archaeologists using advanced imaging and scanning techniques have identified hidden voids, sealed staircases, and tunnels that had remained undiscovered for centuries. Some chambers appear to have been deliberately blocked, while others connect to previously known corridors, revealing a network far more extensive than historical records suggested. Each discovery emphasizes the Ottomans' role as custodians, maintaining secrecy while ensuring functionality, preserving a centuries-old labyrinth that continues to intrigue researchers and explorers alike. The emotional experience of entering Ottoman chambers remains powerful. Descending into darkness, explorers confront a tangible sense of history, the weight of centuries, the presence of human intention, and the layers of construction from multiple civilizations. The atmosphere is cool, damp, and silent except for the echoes of movement. Every wall, niche, and corridor resonates with stories of faith, secrecy, and survival. The chambers are both physical and psychological spaces, where human ingenuity, devotion, and strategy converge. Ultimately, the Ottoman period solidified the subterranean city as a layered, multifunctional, and secretive environment. Roman foundations were preserved, Byzantine modifications respected, Crusader interventions maintained or adapted, and new chambers reinforced or concealed. This intricate network became a living repository of history, faith, and human ingenuity, continuing the centuries-long tradition of using the underground as a space for both practical necessity and profound mystery. The Ottoman era demonstrates the enduring significance of Jerusalem's hidden chambers. They were spaces of administration, defense, religious devotion, storage, and secrecy. They illustrate the ability of successive empires to adapt and preserve structures while respecting their historical and symbolic significance. For modern archaeologists and explorers, these chambers provide a direct connection to the past, a tangible manifestation of human ingenuity, belief, and strategy. Every corridor, staircase, and sealed room tells a story, revealing the layered history of a city whose essence is as much hidden as it is visible. The subterranean chambers of the Ottoman period remind us that history is not always linear, visible, or fully known. Each generation built upon the work of its predecessors, preserving mystery, enhancing functionality, and maintaining secrecy. Descending into these chambers is a journey into centuries of human intention, a direct encounter with the complexity, faith, and ingenuity that define Jerusalem's hidden city. The Ottomans, like those who came before them, contributed to a legacy that continues to fascinate, challenge, and inspire awe in all who venture into the underground world. Modern exploration of Jerusalem's underground city is a journey that combines archaeology, history, politics, and sheer human curiosity. For centuries, these chambers remained largely hidden, known only through historical accounts, legends, and the occasional accidental discovery. With the advent of modern archaeology in the 19th and 20th centuries, scholars began systematic investigations, uncovering a labyrinth that stretched far beneath the bustling streets above. These discoveries revealed a network of tunnels, chambers, cisterns, and secret rooms that span millennia, reflecting Roman engineering, Byzantine devotion, Crusader ingenuity, and Ottoman preservation. The process of rediscovery has been neither straightforward nor safe, fraught with technical challenges, political sensitivities, and the enduring mysteries of centuries-old construction. Accessing the underground city is not simple. Many entrances are concealed beneath modern buildings, narrow streets, or private properties. Others are intentionally hidden, sealed by layers of stone or earth over centuries. Archaeologists must rely on historical records, local knowledge, and modern technology to locate possible entry points. Ground-penetrating radar, laser scanning, and 3D mapping are now employed to identify voids beneath the city's complex urban fabric. Even with these tools, exploration is a slow and delicate process, requiring careful excavation, structural reinforcement, and a deep understanding of both ancient construction methods and modern urban infrastructure. The chambers themselves pose unique challenges. Many tunnels are narrow, low-ceilinged, and labyrinthine, designed to confuse or restrict access. Others are filled with rubble, collapsed walls, or sediment accumulated over centuries. Water infiltration, humidity, and structural instability further complicate entry. Archaeologists often must proceed in small groups, using ropes, helmets, and headlamps, aware that a single misstep could damage centuries-old stone or place them in personal danger. Despite these obstacles, the allure of uncovering hidden spaces, revealing lost histories, and connecting with centuries of human activity drives explorers to persist. Rediscovery has also been shaped by political and religious sensitivities. Jerusalem is a city of extraordinary significance to multiple faiths, and the underground spaces often lie beneath sites of active religious practice. Excavation, access, and publication of findings must navigate complex regulations, permissions, and negotiations with religious authorities, municipal governments, and international organizations. Even today, some chambers remain off-limits, their locations known only to select scholars or local custodians. The politics of access underscore the fact that Jerusalem's underground city is not merely an archaeological site. It is a living, contested, and deeply meaningful space for countless communities. Archaeological discoveries have been both expected and surprising. Long-forgotten corridors sometimes connect known structures, revealing the continuity and scale of the underground network. Sealed chambers are occasionally opened, uncovering niches, inscriptions, artifacts, or objects preserved for centuries. Roman and Byzantine engineering marvels, such as precisely carved arches, vaults, and cisterns, continue to astonish even the most experienced researchers. Each discovery prompts new questions. Why were these chambers constructed in a particular way? Who used them? And what secrets did they hold? The process of rediscovery is iterative, requiring constant reassessment of prior assumptions and meticulous documentation. Modern archaeologists have also grappled with the interpretation of artifacts found within the chambers. Coins, pottery shards, religious implements, and fragments of manuscripts provide clues about daily life, ritual activity, and political authority. Some items appear deliberately concealed, placed in niches or sealed rooms for protection. Others seem discarded or abandoned, hinting at sudden departures, conflict, or fear. Each object becomes a fragment of a larger narrative, demanding careful contextual analysis to understand its significance and relation to the surrounding chamber. The interplay of artifacts, architecture, and stratigraphy creates a complex puzzle that requires both historical knowledge and imaginative reasoning. Exploration has revealed the intentional layering of chambers across time. Roman, Byzantine, Crusader, and Ottoman structures often intersect, creating corridors that traverse multiple historical periods. Some staircases lead from one era's chambers into another's, while niches may overlay older inscriptions or carvings. Understanding this temporal layering is one of the greatest challenges for modern archaeologists. Each layer tells a story, but the relationship between layers, whether practical, symbolic, or strategic, is not always clear. The underground city is a palimpsest, where every generation added, modified, or concealed spaces, leaving behind a complex and enigmatic record. Safety is a constant concern. The chambers are often unstable, with ceilings at risk of collapse and floors weakened by centuries of sediment. Humidity, mold, and stagnant air pose health hazards, while narrow corridors and low ceilings require careful navigation. Teams of archaeologists and engineers work together to stabilize chambers, reinforce walls, and provide safe pathways for exploration. Modern technology aids in this effort, with sensors monitoring structural integrity, drones providing aerial views, and 3D modeling predicting stress points. Yet despite these advances, entering these hidden spaces remains a visceral, risky, and emotionally charged experience. The emotional experience of exploring these chambers is profound. Descending into darkness, researchers encounter the cool, damp air of spaces untouched for centuries. The echo of footsteps, the faint scent of stone and earth, and the sudden glimpses of carved niches or inscriptions create a palpable connection to history. Each room, corridor, and stairway carries the weight of countless human decisions. Fear, devotion, secrecy, and ingenuity. Archaeologists describe a sense of awe mixed with humility, realizing that they are temporary visitors in spaces that have borne witness to millennia of human ambition, faith, and survival. Modern rediscovery has also revealed chambers of extraordinary mystery. Rooms with unusual dimensions, niches whose purpose is unclear, and corridors that appear intentionally confusing challenge conventional understanding. Some chambers seem ceremonial, perhaps connected to rituals or sacred practices. Others appear practical, used for storage or movement. Yet the full meaning of many spaces remains elusive, and some are deliberately sealed or obscured. Each discovery reinforces the sense that Jerusalem's underground city is not merely physical space. It is a repository of human intention, secrecy, and history, where much remains hidden beneath the surface. Technology has revolutionized the study of these chambers. Ground-penetrating radar allows researchers to detect voids beneath heavily built areas, revealing previously unknown tunnels or chambers. Laser scanning and photogrammetry enable the creation of precise 3D models, allowing detailed analysis without disturbing fragile structures. Drones, robotic cameras, and remote sensors provide access to spaces too dangerous or narrow for humans. These tools not only enhance safety and accuracy, but also allow a broader understanding of spatial relationships, structural integrity, and potential connections between chambers across different historical periods. Rediscovery also engages public imagination. Tours, documentaries, and publications highlight the hidden world beneath Jerusalem, blending historical scholarship with narrative storytelling. Photographs, 3D reconstructions, and virtual reality experiences bring the underground city to life for audiences who may never enter physically. The chambers inspire awe and curiosity, emphasizing both the ingenuity of past civilizations and the enduring mystery that surrounds these hidden spaces. Modern exploration is not only a scientific endeavor but also an act of storytelling, connecting contemporary observers with the cumulative human experience of the subterranean city. Challenges of interpretation persist. Inscriptions in multiple languages, overlapping artifacts, and structural modifications from different eras complicate understanding. Researchers must distinguish between Roman, Byzantine, Crusader, and Ottoman interventions, while also considering later modern disruptions or reconstructions. Each chamber becomes a puzzle, where architecture, material culture, and historical record must be synthesized to form coherent narratives. Even with meticulous documentation, some chambers resist explanation, maintaining their aura of mystery and inviting speculation about their original function and significance. Rediscovery has also revealed hidden dangers. Some chambers are connected to deep cisterns or shafts, with water filling portions of tunnels. Others contain unstable debris, risk of flooding, or areas prone to collapse. Archaeologists must navigate these hazards with care, often using specialized equipment, ropes, and safety protocols. These physical challenges add to the psychological intensity of exploration, reinforcing the sense of venturing into a forgotten, secret world that demands respect, patience, and courage. The rediscovery of Jerusalem's underground city is a story of persistence, curiosity, and human ingenuity. Archaeologists have pieced together centuries of layered history, revealing a network that is simultaneously practical, spiritual, and secretive. Each chamber, tunnel, and niche offers insight into the lives, intentions, and fears of those who came before. Romans, Byzantines, Crusaders, Ottomans, while reminding modern explorers of the limits of understanding. The subterranean city is both a physical reality and a symbolic space, reflecting the continuity of human ambition, faith, and secrecy across millennia. Ultimately, modern rediscovery emphasizes the continuity of human fascination with hidden spaces. These chambers inspire awe not only because of their age or construction, but because of the human stories they embody. Descending into the tunnels is a journey through time, connecting archaeologists with the hopes, fears, and intentions of countless individuals across centuries. Each corridor, stairway, and room reveals fragments of a larger narrative. A narrative of secrecy, devotion, ingenuity, and the enduring human desire to shape and protect spaces beneath the city above. The modern exploration of Jerusalem's underground chambers underscores a profound truth. History is alive beneath our feet. The chambers are not mere relics but active storytellers, preserving mysteries that span millennia. Every discovery, every measurement, and every interpretation contributes to a collective understanding, while reminding us that much remains hidden. Descending into these spaces is to confront the past in its most intimate, physical, and enigmatic form. A reminder that the hidden city beneath Jerusalem continues to hold secrets that may never be fully revealed. As modern archaeologists, explorers, and historians ventured deeper into Jerusalem's underground network, they began encountering anomalies that defied straightforward explanation. Beyond the expected Roman, Byzantine, Crusader, and Ottoman constructions, there were chambers and corridors that seemed deliberately enigmatic, their purpose hidden or intentionally obscured. Some rooms were disproportionately large, others remarkably small, while certain tunnels appeared to lead nowhere, ending abruptly or looping back upon themselves. These architectural mysteries suggested that the subterranean city was not only a practical and sacred space, but also a deliberately cryptic environment, a hidden landscape designed to provoke awe, secrecy, and perhaps even confusion. One of the most striking anomalies lies in the scale and proportion of certain chambers. Some rooms are far larger than necessary for storage, ritual, or passage. Their ceilings soar high above the heads of explorers, often supported by intricately carved arches and vaults that suggest advanced engineering knowledge. The size and symmetry of these chambers imply intentionality, an understanding of space that goes beyond practicality. Archaeologists speculate on their function. Were they ceremonial halls, places of secret congregation, or symbolic representations of cosmology and spiritual order? The absence of clear evidence leaves the chambers shrouded in mystery, inviting both scholarly analysis and imaginative interpretation. Equally perplexing are chambers with proportions that seem almost claustrophobic. Some tunnels are so narrow and low-ceilinged that passage requires crouching or crawling. Others contain tiny, recessed niches whose purpose is unknown. Could these spaces have been designed as secret hiding places, ceremonial confinement rooms, or protective alcoves? Their presence challenges conventional understanding of subterranean architecture, suggesting that the creators were deliberately manipulating human perception of space, height, and enclosure. The contrast between expansive halls and constricted corridors adds to the psychological complexity of the underground network, creating a journey through varying emotional and sensory experiences. Perhaps the most confounding feature of these anomalies is the network of passageways that seem to defy logic. Some corridors twist at sharp angles, intersect unpredictably, or terminate abruptly. Others appear to double back, creating labyrinthine loops that disorient explorers. Certain tunnels end at walls with no apparent entrance or exit, while others connect to chambers that seem entirely isolated from the known network. These anomalies raise fundamental questions. Were they built as deliberate traps, secret routes, or symbolic exercises in disorientation? Could they reflect an ancient understanding of psychological space, intended to instill awe, fear, or reverence? The mystery persists, as no definitive evidence explains why such irregularities were constructed or how they were intended to function. Inscriptions and carvings further complicate interpretation. Some chambers contain symbols, cryptic text, or geometric designs that remain undeciphered. While certain markings clearly indicate religious or ritual use, others are entirely enigmatic, defying classification. Some appear to be navigational guides, while others may represent mystical or secret knowledge. The presence of multiple layers of inscriptions, sometimes overlaid or erased, suggests a continuum of reinterpretation across centuries, with each civilization leaving its mark while preserving some mystery for the future. These textual anomalies reinforce the sense that the underground city was a space not only of physical movement but of intellectual and spiritual intrigue. Archaeologists have also discovered chambers with unusual alignments. Some rooms are oriented in precise cardinal directions, while others align with celestial events such as solstices or equinoxes. Certain corridors appear to channel light or sound in ways that enhance ritual experience, creating dramatic effects as sunlight penetrates a narrow slit at a specific time of year, illuminating a niche or altar. These features suggest advanced knowledge of geometry, astronomy, and acoustics. The deliberate integration of natural phenomena into architectural design adds a layer of mystery, implying that the underground city was intended to interact with both the cosmos and human perception in profound ways. Hidden doors and secret compartments abound. Some walls contain recesses that open only when manipulated in a specific manner, while others hide small rooms or alcoves behind removable stones. Archaeologists have documented mechanisms that appear almost mechanical in nature, suggesting sophisticated engineering knowledge for controlling access and concealment. These hidden spaces likely served multiple purposes: safeguarding valuables, concealing relics, or restricting access to sacred or strategic chambers. The ingenuity of these designs underscores the importance of secrecy in the underground city, a theme that persists across all historical periods. Water-related anomalies add further intrigue. Some chambers contain reservoirs, cisterns, or channels whose function is difficult to determine. In certain cases, water seems to flow in unusual patterns or lead to areas that are otherwise inaccessible. Some cisterns are connected to long, narrow tunnels that appear ceremonial rather than practical, while others are sealed off entirely. Archaeologists and engineers speculate that water may have had symbolic significance, perhaps used in purification rituals, spiritual ceremonies, or even secretive signaling systems. These anomalies reveal an extraordinary integration of engineering, symbolism, and ritual function, highlighting the sophistication of the underground builders. Acoustic anomalies are another fascinating feature. Certain chambers amplify sound in unexpected ways, creating echoes, resonance, or even whispers that seem unnaturally clear. These acoustic effects may have been intentional, enhancing ritual chanting, prayer, or secret communication. Some rooms have walls constructed to channel sound between chambers, allowing messages to travel unseen. The manipulation of sound adds a psychological and emotional dimension to the underground city, turning it into an interactive, multisensory environment designed to impress, intimidate, or inspire those who ventured within. Artifacts found within anomalous chambers often defy easy categorization. Items appear that do not correspond to known historical periods, religious practices, or functional use. Some objects are deliberately concealed, placed in niches or behind false walls. Others seem abandoned or lost, as if hurriedly hidden during conflict or upheaval. The presence of unusual artifacts raises questions about trade, cultural exchange, or even secret societies that may have used the chambers for clandestine purposes. Every object contributes to the layered narrative, challenging researchers to integrate physical evidence with historical records, legend, and imaginative hypothesis. The psychological impact of exploring these anomalous spaces is profound. Archaeologists describe feelings of disorientation, awe, and even fear as they navigate corridors that twist unpredictably, rooms that seem impossibly large or small, and chambers whose purpose remains elusive. The interplay of light, shadow, sound, and architecture creates a heightened sensory experience, one that mirrors the experiences of historical occupants and pilgrims. Descending into these chambers is not merely a physical journey but an emotional and intellectual confrontation with the unknown, a step into a world deliberately designed to be partially hidden and partially revealed. Some anomalous chambers resist conventional interpretation entirely. Archaeologists have documented spaces that contain no artifacts, inscriptions, or obvious function, yet display meticulous construction. Walls are precisely carved, ceilings are reinforced, and niches appear intentionally placed, yet the purpose remains obscure. These rooms suggest that secrecy itself may have been a primary consideration. They may have been spaces reserved for elite knowledge, hidden ritual, or private congregation, or perhaps deliberately constructed to confound outsiders. The absence of clear function is, in itself, a form of mystery, inviting speculation and challenging the assumption that every space must have a practical or religious purpose. Connections between anomalous chambers and above-ground structures are equally puzzling. Some tunnels seem to align with important religious, administrative, or military sites, while others appear completely isolated. Archaeologists have noted instances where corridors run beneath significant churches, marketplaces, or fortifications, suggesting intentional linkage to power centers or sacred sites. Yet in other cases, chambers appear disconnected, hidden beneath streets or open spaces with no apparent relevance. This uneven integration reinforces the sense that the underground city was as much about secrecy, protection, and symbolic meaning as it was about utility. Historical accounts occasionally hint at these anomalies. Pilgrims, chroniclers, and local residents have described hidden halls, secret passages, and rooms whose purpose defied explanation. While some of these stories may be embellished, archaeological evidence confirms that the accounts often correspond to real features. The alignment of legend with physical discovery underscores the enduring fascination and mystery of the underground city. It also highlights the continuity of human perception. Generations have recognized that beneath Jerusalem lies a hidden world, one designed to inspire curiosity, awe, and reverence. Modern technology continues to reveal new anomalies. High-resolution 3D scanning, LiDAR mapping, and ground-penetrating radar have uncovered previously unknown voids, sealed chambers, and structural oddities. These discoveries challenge prior assumptions, expanding our understanding of the scale, complexity, and purpose of the underground city. Each anomaly prompts new questions, demonstrating that the exploration of Jerusalem's hidden chambers is an ongoing process. A dynamic conversation between past and present, architecture and imagination, known and unknown. The cumulative effect of these anomalies is a subterranean city that is simultaneously practical, sacred, and enigmatic. Roman engineering, Byzantine ritual, Crusader strategy, Ottoman preservation, and modern rediscovery converge to create a multi-layered labyrinth that defies simple explanation. Each corridor, chamber, and niche is a testament to human ingenuity, devotion, secrecy, and the desire to control or protect space. The anomalies themselves, unusual proportions, labyrinthine layouts, acoustic effects, unexplained artifacts, amplify the sense that the underground city was deliberately designed to challenge perception, inspire awe, and conceal its deepest secrets. Ultimately, the unexplained chambers beneath Jerusalem remind us that history is not always orderly, linear, or fully knowable. They are spaces where intention, mystery, and human ingenuity intersect, revealing layers of planning, ritual, and secrecy that transcend centuries. For archaeologists, explorers, and those captivated by history, descending into these chambers is a journey into the unknown, a confrontation with the ingenuity, devotion, and subtle genius of generations who shaped, preserved, and concealed a hidden city beneath one of the world's most storied landscapes. Long before archaeologists descended into the tunnels and chambers beneath Jerusalem, stories of hidden halls, secret passages, and forbidden chambers circulated among locals, pilgrims, and travelers. These legends, passed down through generations, imbued the subterranean city with an aura of mystery that persists even today. Tales of miraculous relics, secret treasures, and rooms that seem to vanish or appear at will blurred the line between fact and folklore, creating a narrative where history, imagination, and faith intertwined. For centuries, the underground city existed not only as a physical reality, but as a space of legend, shaping the collective consciousness of those who dwelled above or visited the holy city. One of the most enduring legends revolves around hidden chambers said to contain sacred relics of unparalleled significance. Chroniclers from the medieval period reported rumors of secret vaults holding fragments of the true cross, manuscripts with divine insight, or vessels used in biblical ceremonies. While modern exploration has confirmed the presence of chambers that were carefully concealed and used for storing sacred objects, the exact contents of many of these spaces remain unknown. This ambiguity fuels speculation and legend, suggesting that the underground city may still guard secrets of profound spiritual and historical value, hidden from the eyes of all but a select few. Other stories describe chambers that defy conventional explanation, spaces whose location seems to shift or disappear entirely. Pilgrims and local residents have recounted instances where corridors appeared under their feet that had not been visible the day before, or rooms whose entrances were hidden until discovered by chance or divine guidance. While some of these accounts may be embellished or influenced by imagination, archaeological evidence has occasionally validated such claims. Chambers that had remained sealed for centuries are occasionally uncovered, revealing networks that had been lost to memory. The intertwining of legend and physical reality emphasizes the subterranean city as a space where human perception and experience are as important as stone and mortar. Supernatural speculation has also long surrounded these hidden chambers. Some tales suggest that the underground city is haunted by spirits of those who died within its tunnels, from crusader soldiers defending secret passages to pilgrims who perished in collapsed chambers. Others speak of divine intervention, where unexplained lights, sounds, or movements guided or warned explorers. Certain chambers are believed to be portals to other realms, symbolic gateways between the mortal world and the divine, or spaces where spiritual energy is concentrated. While these accounts are often anecdotal and unverifiable, they highlight the psychological and emotional weight of the underground city, suggesting that the chambers were never merely functional, but also deeply symbolic. Local folklore contains tales of secret societies and hidden guardians, individuals entrusted with the protection of sacred knowledge or powerful relics. According to some accounts, these custodians moved silently through concealed passages, ensuring that certain chambers remained hidden from outsiders. Stories describe them as shadows in the corridors, figures who appeared at critical moments to guide, protect, or warn. While the existence of such groups is difficult to substantiate historically, their presence in legend reinforces the sense of the underground city as a deliberately secretive and protected environment, a realm where ordinary rules of access and visibility did not apply. Miraculous occurrences are another recurring theme in Jerusalem's subterranean legends. Pilgrims' writings often describe chambers that seem to respond to the presence of the faithful. Lights that flicker mysteriously, water that rises in cisterns without explanation, or inscriptions that appear illuminated when approached with reverence. Some accounts suggest that specific chambers are aligned with celestial events, allowing sunlight to strike niches or altars in patterns that appear supernatural. These stories convey the psychological and spiritual power of the underground city, demonstrating how its design and physical characteristics can inspire awe, fear, and reverence. Historical chroniclers occasionally hint at secret knowledge encoded within the chambers themselves. Some inscriptions, carvings, and geometric patterns are believed to contain esoteric or mystical information, accessible only to those trained to interpret them. Legends describe manuscripts hidden within walls, symbols that reveal divine truths, or corridors designed as physical metaphors for spiritual journeys. While the veracity of these claims is difficult to establish, they highlight a central theme. The underground city has long been regarded as a repository of knowledge, both sacred and secret, where discovery requires not only skill but insight and intuition. Stories of hidden treasures abound, blending legend with historical possibility. Tales describe hoards of gold, silver, and precious artifacts concealed by Romans, Crusaders, or Ottomans. Some are said to be guarded by curses, protective spells, or mechanisms designed to thwart intruders. Others are rumored to be preserved for future generations, to be revealed only when the time is right. While few of these treasures have been found, the allure persists, motivating explorers, historians, and even adventurers to seek chambers that might still hold relics of incalculable value. The interplay of legend, material wealth, and spiritual significance makes the subterranean city a magnet for imagination and ambition. Certain chambers are associated with miraculous events in pilgrimage narratives. Pilgrims described finding niches where prayers were answered, water that healed ailments, or inscriptions that seemed to glow in the presence of devotion. Others recounted visions or dreams experienced after entering particular tunnels, suggesting that the psychological impact of the underground city extends beyond physical exploration. These accounts highlight the role of faith and perception in shaping experience, demonstrating that the subterranean city is both a tangible space and a canvas for human meaning-making. The integration of multiple cultural traditions into folklore is particularly striking. Roman, Byzantine, Crusader, and Ottoman influences converge in stories that blend religious, mystical, and practical elements. A single chamber may be the site of a Roman ritual legend, a Crusader miracle, and an Ottoman hidden treasure story, each layer adding to the overall mystery. This convergence reflects Jerusalem's unique position as a crossroads of civilizations, religions, and empires, and it underscores the way in which the underground city functions as a cumulative repository of human experience and imagination. Explorers in the modern era often encounter echoes of these legends. While descending into hidden chambers, they report sensations, sounds, and visual cues that mirror historical accounts. Flickering torchlight or artificial illumination can create shadows that resemble figures. Arches can cast patterns reminiscent of symbolic forms, and the reverberation of footsteps can produce eerie echoes. These experiences are heightened by the knowledge of the chamber's history and the stories associated with them, creating a layered psychological and emotional experience that is as much about perception as it is about architecture. Some legends suggest that the underground chambers are connected to prophecy and hidden knowledge. Certain rooms are believed to have been designed to align with celestial patterns, encode divine messages, or preserve esoteric wisdom. Pilgrims and mystics have long interpreted symbols and inscriptions as containing layers of meaning, accessible only to those attuned to spiritual insight. These tales suggest that the chambers were conceived as both physical and metaphysical spaces, where architecture, symbolism, and human intention intersect to create environments charged with meaning. The psychological and emotional weight of legend shapes modern exploration. Awareness of historical accounts, tales of hidden relics, and rumors of unexplained phenomena heightens the senses, creating tension, anticipation, and awe. Modern archaeologists often describe feeling as though the chambers themselves are alive, imbued with the presence of generations of humans who navigated, modified, and revered these spaces. The interplay of legend and physical reality creates an experience where discovery is both empirical and existential, connecting the explorer to centuries of human curiosity, faith, and secrecy. Some legends have proved surprisingly prescient. Chambers that were described as hidden or inaccessible centuries ago are occasionally rediscovered intact, confirming the accuracy of oral or written accounts. In other cases, anomalies match stories of secret chambers or concealed passageways, demonstrating that legend, while often embellished, has roots in historical reality. This interplay between myth and archaeology reinforces the sense that Jerusalem's underground city is both a physical space and a narrative landscape, where story, belief, and architecture intertwine. The legends surrounding supernatural phenomena, hidden knowledge, and sacred relics also highlight the human need to attribute meaning to the unseen. The chambers beneath Jerusalem are dark, complex, and sometimes disorienting. Their labyrinthine design, historical layering, and unusual architecture naturally inspire speculation. Over centuries, these human experiences have been transformed into folklore, emphasizing mystery, wonder, and reverence. The subterranean city becomes a canvas for imagination, an enduring symbol of the intersection between the visible and invisible, the mundane and the sacred. Ultimately, the folklore and supernatural speculation surrounding Jerusalem's underground chambers reveal as much about human perception as they do about history. The stories that persist reflect fear, devotion, curiosity, and a desire to connect with forces beyond immediate comprehension. They illustrate that the hidden city is not merely stone and mortar. It is a living, narrative space, shaped by generations of belief, imagination, and exploration. Descending into these chambers is not only an archaeological journey, but a confrontation with legend itself, where history, faith, and mystery converge. The legends, like the chambers themselves, are multi-layered. Roman engineering, Byzantine devotion, Crusader strategy, Ottoman preservation, and modern rediscovery all intertwine with stories of the supernatural, hidden treasures, and divine intervention. Each narrative adds depth to the mystery, shaping how the underground city is experienced and interpreted. Together, these elements create a space that is both real and symbolic, physical and metaphysical. A labyrinth of stone and story, designed to inspire awe, protect secrets, and connect generations across centuries. In descending into these hidden spaces, modern explorers are confronted with the profound intersection of history and imagination. Every corridor, staircase, and chamber echoes with the footsteps of the past, while the legends that persist infuse the environment with an almost palpable presence. The underground city becomes a theater where reality and story coexist, where exploration is simultaneously empirical, emotional, and spiritual. It is a space where human ingenuity, faith, secrecy, and imagination converge, leaving a lasting impression on all who dare to enter. Among the most compelling features discovered within Jerusalem's underground chambers are inscriptions, carvings, and markings whose meanings remain elusive. From faded Latin letters etched by Roman engineers to Byzantine crosses, Crusader symbols, and Ottoman notations, the walls of these chambers serve as a palimpsest of human expression across millennia. Yet within this wealth of markings, there exists a subset of inscriptions that resist interpretation. Cryptic sequences, geometric patterns, and symbols seemingly unrelated to known historical, religious, or linguistic conventions. These enigmatic messages captivate researchers, hinting at hidden knowledge, secret communications, or coded rituals long forgotten. The earliest inscriptions are often Roman, functional in nature, and primarily intended to mark construction, ownership, or measurement. Roman masons carved dates, numbers, and engineering notations to ensure precision in building arches, vaults, and cisterns. Yet even among these practical markings, anomalies appear, symbols that seem decorative, symbolic, or deliberately obscure. Scholars speculate that these may have served multiple purposes: practical for builders, protective against intruders, or symbolic, intended to imbue the structures with sacred or mystical significance. The interplay between utility and symbolism is a recurring theme throughout the underground city, suggesting that every mark could carry layers of meaning. Byzantine-era inscriptions introduce another dimension: religious symbolism and devotional messages. Crosses, angels, biblical quotes, and prayers adorn chamber walls, niches, and arches. Some inscriptions were clearly intended for public or semi-public viewing, guiding pilgrims or serving as reminders of faith. Others are more subtle, hidden in recesses or behind niches, accessible only to those who knew where to look. These secret inscriptions raise questions. Were they intended to protect sacred relics, communicate messages to select groups, or mark ritual spaces? The precision and placement of these carvings suggest careful planning, reinforcing the idea that the underground city was as much a spiritual environment as a physical one. Crusader inscriptions add a further layer of complexity. Latin and Old French letters, symbols of knights' orders, and coats of arms appear alongside geometric carvings and enigmatic markings whose purpose is unclear. Some inscriptions record the names of donors, builders, or knights stationed in Jerusalem, while others hint at coded messages, secret knowledge, or warnings. In certain chambers, overlapping inscriptions reveal centuries of reuse. Crusaders carved their symbols atop earlier Byzantine or Roman markings, preserving continuity while asserting presence. This stratification of inscriptions transforms the walls into historical documents, chronicling successive occupations, beliefs, and intentions. The Ottoman period introduced additional markings, often administrative or practical, but occasionally mysterious symbols appear alongside standard inscriptions. Sealed chambers sometimes bear cryptic notations, suggesting codes for restricted access, hidden caches, or ceremonial significance. Archaeologists have noted that some symbols correspond to specific locations or structural features, indicating a sophisticated system of information encoded within the architecture itself. These markings demonstrate continuity with earlier traditions of secrecy, blending practical necessity with symbolic communication. Beyond historical languages, the underground city contains inscriptions that remain undeciphered. Geometric patterns, abstract symbols, and sequences of lines or dots defy classification. Some resemble proto-writing or early alphabets that predate standardized scripts, while others appear entirely unique. Researchers have attempted to correlate these markings with Kabbalistic symbolism, Templar codes, or even esoteric mathematical principles. Each interpretation is speculative, yet the presence of such markings reinforces the notion that the underground city was a space of hidden knowledge, where information could be encoded in physical form, accessible only to those with the key to interpretation. Cryptographic theories abound. Some scholars propose that certain inscriptions are codes used by secret societies, religious sects, or administrative authorities to protect information. Chambers with overlapping symbols, unusual sequencing, or hidden recesses may have served as secure communication hubs. For instance, niches or false walls could conceal documents, relics, or messages, while inscriptions provided guidance for those in the know. Although no definitive decoding has yet been confirmed, these hypotheses highlight the intellectual sophistication required to create, maintain, and navigate such a system. Inscriptions often interact with architectural anomalies, amplifying their enigmatic nature. Geometric symbols carved into arches may align with hidden niches, secret corridors, or chambers with unusual proportions. Certain markings appear to indicate structural features, ceilings, vaults, or walls that conceal passageways or rooms. Some inscriptions suggest sequences of movement, like a coded map guiding explorers through labyrinthine corridors. This interplay between text, symbol, and space demonstrates that the underground city was a deliberate, multi-layered communication system, blending the physical and symbolic into a unified design. Acoustic and visual considerations enhance the mysterious impact of inscriptions. In some chambers, the placement of symbols coincides with sound resonance, allowing whispered messages or chants to amplify and carry across corridors. In others, shafts or slits permit light to illuminate specific inscriptions at particular times of day or year, creating dramatic effects that suggest divine or mystical intent. These features reveal a sophisticated understanding of environmental interaction, transforming inscriptions from static markings into dynamic instruments that engage perception, cognition, and emotion. The rediscovery of these inscriptions has been gradual. Early explorers often overlooked or misinterpreted faint carvings, while modern technology has enabled more precise documentation. High-resolution photography, laser scanning, and 3D mapping reveal previously unnoticed details, allowing researchers to analyze patterns, sequences, and correlations. Even with advanced imaging, many inscriptions remain ambiguous, defying conventional linguistic, historical, or symbolic frameworks. Their persistent mystery contributes to the aura of the underground city as a place of hidden knowledge, layered meaning, and ongoing discovery. Artifacts sometimes complement inscriptions, suggesting their function. Small niches or recesses near cryptic markings occasionally contain objects that may have served as keys, offerings, or ritual implements. Coins, pottery, or ceremonial tools positioned deliberately in conjunction with inscriptions hint at their integrated role in ritual, protection, or secret communication. These material correlations strengthen the argument that the markings were not merely decorative but functional, encoding instructions, meaning, or guidance within the subterranean environment. Legends often reference these cryptic markings. Medieval chroniclers described symbols that indicated hidden passages, secret rooms, or sacred objects. Pilgrims reported finding inscriptions that guided them through previously unknown corridors, or that conveyed messages understood only by the devout or initiated. Some modern explorers have found traces of these legendary symbols still intact, confirming the continuity of experience and perception across centuries. This intersection of legend and archaeology reinforces the underground city as a space where history, faith, and mystery converge. The psychological impact of inscriptions cannot be underestimated. For explorers and researchers, encountering a cryptic symbol in a dimly lit chamber evokes curiosity, tension, and reverence. The human brain instinctively searches for meaning, pattern, and context, turning a simple carved line into a potential message from the past. This experience mirrors historical intention. Inscriptions were often designed to guide, instruct, or impress those who entered, blending practical communication with emotional and spiritual influence. Some inscriptions remain inaccessible, hidden behind walls, sealed doors, or collapsed chambers. The knowledge they contain may be lost, waiting for future generations to rediscover it. Others may have been deliberately destroyed, erased, or defaced, obscuring their meaning and adding to the air of mystery. The interplay of preservation and loss creates a tension that defines the underground city. It is at once revealing and concealing, inviting exploration while maintaining secrecy. Modern efforts to decode inscriptions integrate multiple disciplines. Linguists, historians, archaeologists, cryptographers, and even mathematicians collaborate to interpret symbols, patterns, and sequences. Comparative studies with known languages, religious texts, and esoteric traditions are conducted to establish potential meanings. While definitive interpretations remain elusive, these interdisciplinary approaches reveal the depth, complexity, and intentionality behind the markings. They underscore the underground city as a space where knowledge is encoded, protected, and layered across centuries. Ultimately, the mysterious inscriptions transform the subterranean chambers into living texts, conveying meaning across time and space. Roman masons, Byzantine monks, Crusader knights, and Ottoman administrators all contributed to this tapestry, leaving messages both overt and hidden. These markings illustrate the human desire to communicate, preserve, and encode knowledge, while simultaneously maintaining secrecy and sanctity. Descending into the chambers is not only a journey into physical space, but a confrontation with the intellectual, spiritual, and symbolic legacy of millennia. The underground city becomes a dialogue between generations. Each inscription, symbol, or geometric pattern is a message across time, challenging modern explorers to decode intentions, rituals, and knowledge that may have been deliberately concealed. The experience is simultaneously analytical, emotional, and spiritual, reflecting the profound ingenuity of those who constructed these spaces. Inscriptions are more than marks on stone. They are the voice of the past, echoing through corridors, niches, and chambers, waiting to be understood. In the end, Jerusalem's underground inscriptions exemplify the interplay between mystery, knowledge, and human experience. They are simultaneously functional, symbolic, and enigmatic, offering insights into the intentions, beliefs, and ingenuity of the civilizations that built and maintained the subterranean city. Every mark is a puzzle, a story, and a challenge, a testament to the layered complexity of a hidden world that continues to captivate, inspire, and confound those who descend beneath the city above. Jerusalem's history is defined by conquest, conflict, and siege. From Roman legions to Crusader knights, Byzantine defenders to Ottoman occupiers, the city has endured waves of invaders and defenders, each leaving their mark above and below ground. Beneath the bustling streets, hidden tunnels and secret chambers provided strategic advantages, enabling movement, refuge, and survival when the city was under threat. These subterranean spaces were not merely architectural curiosities. They were lifelines, escape routes, and military assets whose secrets were closely guarded across generations. The earliest known tunnels date back to Roman times. Roman engineers, renowned for their military pragmatism, constructed subterranean passages to allow secure troop movement, access to water sources, and storage of supplies. These tunnels connected fortifications, cisterns, and strategic locations, allowing soldiers to navigate the city even during chaotic confrontations. In some cases, Roman tunnels were designed with defensive purpose in mind. Narrow corridors, concealed entrances, and abrupt turns forced intruders to slow, creating choke points that could be defended with minimal manpower. The ingenuity of Roman military engineering is evident in the precision, durability, and strategic placement of these early underground structures. Byzantine expansions further enhanced the network of hidden passages. Facing the threat of siege from multiple adversaries, Byzantine administrators and builders constructed concealed chambers, secret stairways, and subterranean corridors to protect clergy, relics, and residents. Some tunnels led from churches or monasteries directly into remote areas of the city, enabling the clergy to move sacred objects or personnel without exposure to hostile forces. Certain chambers were deliberately fortified, with reinforced walls, heavy doors, and narrow entries designed to withstand assault. These Byzantine interventions demonstrate the fusion of practicality, protection, and faith, transforming the underground city into a multifunctional defensive and sacred network. The Crusader period introduced a new layer of subterranean strategy. Crusaders faced constant threat from local populations, rival factions, and shifting alliances, making the underground chambers invaluable. Secret escape routes allowed knights, nobles, and clergy to flee from besieged fortresses or urban centers, preserving key personnel and maintaining morale. In some cases, tunnels connected Crusader strongholds to distant streets, marketplaces, or less conspicuous exits, ensuring that critical members could move undetected during emergencies. Certain chambers were adapted as safe havens, stocked with provisions, weapons, and water, reflecting meticulous preparation for prolonged siege conditions. The Crusaders' use of these subterranean spaces highlights both ingenuity and desperation, as survival often depended on stealth, secrecy, and intimate knowledge of hidden routes. Ottoman modifications added further sophistication. The Ottomans, ruling Jerusalem for centuries, maintained, expanded, and modified existing tunnels for military, administrative, and ceremonial purposes. Some passages were adapted for rapid troop deployment, secure communication, or covert surveillance. Ottoman architects integrated ventilation shafts, hidden stairways, and discreet exits, ensuring that the tunnels remained functional over centuries despite urban expansion above. In addition, certain chambers were used for strategic storage, preserving food, water, or military supplies in conditions protected from conflict, fire, or theft. The Ottoman era underscores the adaptability of Jerusalem's subterranean network, where each successive ruler leveraged the tunnels for survival, control, and protection. The design of escape routes demonstrates remarkable ingenuity. Tunnels were often deliberately confusing, featuring abrupt turns, false passages, and hidden chambers to thwart pursuers. Some corridors split into multiple branches, each leading to different exits or safe zones, ensuring that those familiar with the layout could navigate efficiently while intruders became disoriented. In certain areas, hidden staircases or concealed doors opened into courtyards, private homes, or distant streets, allowing occupants to leave the city without detection. The psychological impact of these designs is profound. Even the threat of pursuit was mitigated by the certainty that escape routes were intricate, concealed, and protected. Secrecy was paramount. Entrance points to escape tunnels were often hidden behind religious altars, walls, or ordinary-looking doors. Certain chambers were sealed with stone slabs, false walls, or camouflaged masonry, accessible only to those who possessed the knowledge or key to open them. Families, religious leaders, and military commanders carefully guarded these access points, ensuring that escape routes remained viable only to those authorized. The combination of concealment, restricted knowledge, and architectural ingenuity ensured that the underground network could serve its protective function even under extreme pressure. Historical accounts provide glimpses into the use of these tunnels during crises. Chroniclers describe instances where defenders used hidden corridors to emerge behind enemy lines, conduct sabotage, or move critical supplies. During sieges, residents reportedly used secret chambers as refuges, hiding families, livestock, and valuables from invading forces. The effectiveness of these escape routes often determined survival, enabling small groups to evade capture, regroup, and eventually reclaim control. Archaeological evidence supports these accounts. Hidden chambers, narrow corridors, and fortified niches suggest deliberate design for emergency scenarios. Water played a critical role in siege survival. Tunnels often connected to cisterns, wells, or hidden aqueducts, providing essential water supply during extended conflicts. Certain chambers featured sophisticated drainage systems, ensuring that water remained accessible while preventing flooding. In some cases, secret channels allowed defenders to access water without exposure to enemy observation, reflecting careful integration of utility and strategy. The combination of structural ingenuity, resource management, and concealment underscores the strategic value of the underground network. The use of secret chambers during conflict was not limited to survival. Some tunnels facilitated clandestine communication, intelligence gathering, and espionage. Couriers could move undetected between fortresses, relay messages between leaders, or deliver orders without being intercepted. In certain chambers, inscriptions or symbols may have served as coded markers, indicating safe passage, trap locations, or strategic instructions. The combination of physical concealment and symbolic communication exemplifies the multi-layered complexity of the subterranean city, where architecture, intelligence, and strategy converged. Psychological warfare also played a role. The knowledge that hidden tunnels existed created uncertainty and fear among attackers. Intruders could not predict the movements of defenders, anticipate escape routes, or locate critical targets with certainty. This strategic ambiguity amplified the defensive advantage, reinforcing the importance of secrecy in both construction and operation. Similarly, the presence of safe havens and concealed chambers boosted morale among defenders, providing assurance that survival was possible even under dire circumstances. Archaeological exploration has revealed the sophistication of these escape systems. Some tunnels feature multiple layers, with staircases descending to different levels, secret alcoves for rest or concealment, and interconnected corridors that allow rapid movement between distant points. Ventilation shafts ensure air circulation in long tunnels, while reinforced walls prevent collapse during sieges or structural stress. The architectural sophistication demonstrates advanced engineering knowledge, with considerations for human safety, resource access, and strategic utility carefully integrated into design. Artifacts within these chambers provide further evidence of their use during conflict. Weapons, armor fragments, pottery, and food remnants indicate prolonged occupancy or preparation for siege. Some rooms contain coins, seals, or personal effects, suggesting that individuals used these spaces as temporary refuges or storage areas. The correlation between architectural features and material culture paints a vivid picture of life in crisis, revealing both the ingenuity and vulnerability of those who relied on the underground network for survival. Legends and oral histories reinforce the strategic role of hidden tunnels. Stories describe priests, nobles, or military leaders slipping through concealed corridors to escape capture or lead surprise attacks. Tales of secret passages beneath marketplaces, churches, and fortifications blend historical accounts with narrative embellishment, highlighting both the practical and psychological importance of these spaces. Even today, some local residents claim knowledge of forgotten exits, passed down through generations, reflecting the enduring cultural memory of Jerusalem's subterranean defenses. The strategic design of tunnels also included defensive traps. Certain corridors feature narrow choke points, false floors, or abrupt dead ends intended to slow or misdirect intruders. Hidden chambers may have been used to ambush pursuers or provide temporary strongholds while awaiting reinforcements. These defensive features demonstrate careful consideration of both architecture and tactics, illustrating the sophistication of military engineering employed beneath the city. Over time, many tunnels were sealed or fell into disuse, hidden by urban expansion, rubble, or intentional concealment. Yet even centuries later, modern archaeologists occasionally uncover evidence of these escape routes, revealing the ingenuity and foresight of their creators. Rediscovery often occurs by chance. A collapsed wall, a previously unnoticed niche, or a historical map may lead researchers to passages that have remained hidden for generations. Each discovery offers insight into the interplay between architecture, strategy, and survival. Ultimately, Jerusalem's hidden tunnels and escape chambers exemplify human ingenuity under duress. They reflect centuries of adaptation, blending engineering skill, strategic planning, and intimate knowledge of the urban landscape. Beyond their practical function, these spaces carry stories of courage, desperation, and resilience, of individuals and communities who relied on secret corridors to survive, protect what was sacred, and maintain hope in the face of overwhelming odds. The subterranean city thus becomes a testament not only to architectural skill but to the enduring human spirit. Descending into these chambers today is a journey into both physical and emotional history. Each corridor, hidden door, and secret room carries the memory of sieges endured, battles fought, and lives preserved. The psychological weight of exploring spaces that once determined survival is palpable, The tunnels are not merely artifacts of the past, but living monuments to strategy, secrecy, and human resilience. In understanding them, we gain insight into the ways civilizations adapt to crisis, the lengths they go to protect knowledge and people, and the intricate dance between architecture and survival. The underground tunnels, escape routes, and secret chambers ultimately reveal a dual narrative, one of practical necessity and one of human drama. They are at once instruments of survival and stages for courage, fear, and ingenuity. Every step along these corridors connects the modern explorer to those who lived, hid, and navigated in secrecy centuries ago. The labyrinthine network beneath Jerusalem is a testament to the convergence of intellect, faith, and endurance. A hidden world where stone, strategy, and human experience converge to preserve life and memory against the tides of history. Beneath the streets of Jerusalem, archaeologists have uncovered relics that hint at the city's hidden past. Ancient pottery, ceremonial tools, and inscriptions reveal the lives of those who navigated these secret spaces centuries ago. Each artifact tells a story of devotion, survival, and ingenuity, preserved against time and turmoil. Some relics suggest sacred rituals once took place in these chambers. Tools for ceremonial purposes, hidden niches, and inscriptions all point to spaces designed for worship and contemplation, far from the public eye. The meticulous care with which they were stored reflects both reverence and fear of desecration. Other findings hint at the everyday lives of those who lived or worked underground. Storage vessels, remnants of food, and markings on walls suggest temporary habitation during sieges or times of danger. These discoveries remind us that the hidden chambers were not only sanctuaries but functional spaces, where survival and faith intersected. Legends often surround these relics. Stories speak of treasures, secret texts, and sacred objects preserved by guardians who understood their significance. While not all tales are verifiable, they underscore the emotional and cultural weight of the findings, keeping the hidden city alive in imagination and history. Today, every discovery adds layers of meaning to our understanding of Jerusalem's subterranean world. The artifacts serve as bridges to the past, connecting modern observers to lives long gone, yet intimately preserved beneath the city. They evoke awe, curiosity, and reflection on the human desire to protect what is sacred and essential. The hidden chambers of Jerusalem are as remarkable for their architecture as for their purpose. Narrow corridors, vaulted ceilings, and concealed stairways reveal a sophisticated understanding of engineering, design, and human behavior. Each passage and room was carefully planned to balance functionality with secrecy. Secret doors, hidden niches, and labyrinthine layouts ensured that only those with knowledge could navigate the underground city. Ventilation shafts, water channels, and strategic lighting reflect advanced planning, allowing the chambers to remain habitable and operational over centuries. The design also serves symbolic purposes. Spatial arrangements mirror cultural and spiritual priorities, with sanctuaries, storage rooms, and laboratories interconnected yet deliberately isolated. This duality of utility and symbolism illustrates the intelligence and foresight of the builders. Successive civilizations modified the chambers to suit their needs. Romans, Byzantines, Crusaders, and Ottomans all contributed to the underground network, preserving original designs while adapting spaces for new purposes. These layers of modification create a complex historical tapestry, where architecture becomes a record of human continuity. Standing within these spaces today, one experiences both awe and curiosity. The architecture tells a story of secrecy, devotion, and human ambition, reminding us that the hidden city is not merely a relic but a living testament to ingenuity, foresight, and the enduring human desire to protect knowledge and sacred spaces. Among the chambers of Jerusalem lie spaces dedicated to knowledge and ritual. Manuscripts, alchemical tools, and ceremonial objects suggest that the hidden city preserved intellectual and spiritual practices far from public scrutiny. These chambers were repositories of wisdom, safeguarding teachings, experiments, and sacred texts. Alchemists, scholars, and religious custodians utilized these spaces with care. Their work balanced curiosity with caution, understanding that knowledge could be both powerful and dangerous. The chambers allowed experimentation and preservation, creating a controlled environment for learning and ritual. Inscriptions, symbols, and hidden libraries reveal a network of information, meticulously catalogued and protected. These spaces were not merely functional. They were deliberately designed to maintain secrecy and preserve continuity across generations. Each chamber is a testament to the foresight and ethical responsibility of those who guarded it. Legends and myths often surround these practices. Stories of sacred experiments, hidden knowledge, and mystical rituals persist, enriching the narrative of the underground city. Even if partially exaggerated, they highlight the cultural significance and enduring fascination with these secret practices. Modern exploration has confirmed aspects of these hidden functions. Archaeologists have found manuscripts, chemical residues, and architectural features consistent with preservation and experimentation. The hidden city, therefore, stands as both a physical and symbolic repository, a place where knowledge, faith, and human ingenuity intersect, preserved across centuries and still whispering its secrets to those who descend into its depths. Beneath Jerusalem lies a labyrinth of tunnels carved centuries ago, long hidden from public view. These passageways, narrow and winding, were designed for purpose: to connect sacred sites, provide escape routes, and safeguard treasures. Each tunnel carries evidence of the skill and foresight of those who built them, from precise stonework to concealed entrances. Exploring these passages today reveals how they were used. Some served as secret refuges during sieges, while others acted as conduits for sacred rituals or the transfer of knowledge. Layers of modifications show that different civilizations, Romans, Byzantines, Crusaders, and Ottomans, repurposed the tunnels according to their needs, creating a dynamic, evolving underground network. Archaeologists note subtle signs of habitation: niches for lamps, channels for water, and small chambers for storage. These details reveal both the practical and symbolic significance of the tunnels, showing that the builders were thinking not only of immediate utility but also of long-term preservation. The tunnels are also imbued with legend. Stories of secret meetings, hidden relics, and undiscovered chambers persist alongside scientific evidence. This intertwining of history and myth heightens their intrigue, reminding visitors that beneath the surface lies a world shaped by human ingenuity, secrecy, and devotion. Standing within the tunnels today, one feels the weight of centuries. The stones speak silently of courage, faith, and ambition. They reflect the enduring human desire to create, protect, and understand. Jerusalem's tunnels are more than passageways. They are repositories of history, culture, and mystery, a testament to humanity's capacity to leave a hidden legacy for future generations. Within the labyrinth lie chambers whose purpose remains partially unknown, yet clues suggest they were designed to protect knowledge and sacred artifacts. Manuscripts, inscriptions, and symbolic objects indicate that these spaces were more than storage rooms. They were repositories of learning, faith, and ritual. Scholars believe some chambers housed libraries or laboratories where alchemists and religious custodians preserved texts, conducted experiments, and safeguarded teachings. These hidden spaces were deliberately isolated to prevent destruction or theft, revealing the foresight and ethical responsibility of those who created them. The architectural sophistication is striking. Ventilation shafts, narrow entrances, and secret stairways ensured both security and preservation. Water channels, lamp niches, and hidden niches reveal careful planning, reflecting a society that valued knowledge and understood the importance of protecting it across centuries. Legends intertwine with history here as well. Some chambers are rumored to contain sacred relics or secret scrolls capable of altering our understanding of ancient civilizations. Even without confirmation, these stories emphasize the cultural and emotional resonance of the hidden city, inspiring exploration and imagination. Today, modern tools allow researchers to study these spaces in unprecedented detail. Yet, despite technological advances, many chambers remain unexplored. Their mystery continues to captivate, reminding us that history is not fully revealed and that the pursuit of knowledge often requires patience, courage, and reverence. The hidden chambers of Jerusalem were not built merely to be concealed. they were guarded. For centuries, custodians, monks, and select scholars ensured that sacred spaces and valuable knowledge remained protected. Their work required vigilance, foresight, and immense responsibility, balancing secrecy with preservation. These guardians made choices that determined what could be revealed and what must remain hidden. Some risked lives during sieges, while others devoted decades to maintaining tunnels and chambers in secrecy. Their efforts ensured the survival of manuscripts, artifacts, and sacred relics through wars, political upheaval, and natural decay. Evidence of their care appears in subtle details. Carefully sealed doors, reinforced passageways, and hidden compartments designed to protect valuable objects. The architecture itself is a reflection of human foresight, with layers of security built into the design to safeguard against intruders and time alike. The guardian's role was both practical and ethical. They understood that knowledge and sacred relics were powerful and that their preservation required discretion and sacrifice. This dual responsibility highlights the human stakes embedded within the subterranean city. Courage, loyalty, and moral judgment were as important as architectural skill. Even today, standing in these chambers, one senses the invisible presence of those who maintain them. Their choices echo through time, reminding us that history is shaped not only by events, but also by the careful stewardship of knowledge. The hidden city, preserved through secrecy and vigilance, embodies both the brilliance and responsibility of humanity, offering lessons that resonate far beyond its stone walls. The hidden chambers of Jerusalem continue to reveal secrets even today. Modern archaeology, combining technology and meticulous scholarship, has uncovered tunnels, vaulted rooms, and inscriptions that hint at the city's layered history. Ground-penetrating radar, chemical analysis, and 3D mapping allow researchers to visualize spaces that were once inaccessible, revealing both functional design and symbolic intent. Despite these advances, much remains unknown. Sealed passages, partially collapsed tunnels, and unexplored chambers remind us that the city beneath the surface is not fully revealed. Each discovery brings new questions. Who built this chamber? Why was it concealed? And what stories or treasures might still lie hidden? The allure of mystery fuels continued exploration, blending historical rigor with imagination. These modern discoveries also illuminate the continuity of human endeavor. Successive civilizations, Roman, Byzantine, Crusader, and Ottoman, reused, modified, and enhanced existing structures, creating a network of interconnected spaces that evolved over centuries. The chambers reflect practical needs, religious devotion, and intellectual pursuits, preserved through both care and secrecy. Jerusalem's underground city is more than a historical curiosity. It is a living archive of human creativity, resilience, and foresight. Modern explorers, standing in these corridors, experience awe, connecting with the ambitions and sacrifices of those who came before. Even as technology reveals secrets, the subterranean city maintains its mystery, ensuring that the quest for understanding remains as compelling as ever. Alongside archaeological evidence, myths and legends breathe life into Jerusalem's hidden chambers. Stories of secret societies, sacred relics, and forbidden knowledge have circulated for centuries, blending fact and imagination. These narratives, while often speculative, underscore humanity's fascination with secrecy and discovery. Legends suggest that certain chambers held treasures, ancient scrolls, or mystical artifacts, accessible only to the initiated. Templars, alchemists, and religious custodians are said to have safeguarded secrets that could alter understanding of faith, power, or science. These tales are magnified by the city's restricted access and centuries of political and religious tension, enhancing the perception of concealed truths. Cultural fascination ensures that these myths endure. Books, films, and documentaries explore hidden corridors, secret vaults, and the possibility of undiscovered wonders beneath the city streets. Even when empirical evidence is lacking, these stories preserve oral histories, highlight unusual architectural features, and inspire further exploration. The underground city, therefore, exists in both reality and imagination. Myths and legends are part of its enduring power, reflecting human curiosity, ambition, and the desire to confront the unknown. They serve as both cautionary tales and invitations to explore, adding depth and intrigue to the historical narrative of Jerusalem's subterranean world. The hidden chambers of Jerusalem captivate not only historians but also the imagination of the wider world. Modern myths suggest secret tunnels, concealed treasures, and mystical artifacts, creating a narrative where history, legend, and speculation intersect. These stories persist, fueled by the city's sacred significance, restricted access, and centuries of secrecy. Some myths posit that the subterranean chambers were designed for esoteric rituals, hidden archives, or ancient technologies. Others suggest secret societies guard knowledge that could transform human understanding. While often unverified, such ideas reveal deep cultural fascination, illustrating humanity's innate curiosity about what lies beyond reach. Popular media amplifies these narratives. Documentaries, novels, and films speculate on the chamber's purpose and contents, blending empirical evidence with imagination. Legends of miraculous discoveries, lost relics, and hidden manuscripts continue to inspire awe and exploration. The allure of these myths is intertwined with reality. Archaeological discoveries confirm that the underground city is vast and complex, with sealed tunnels and unexplored chambers hinting at what might remain hidden. Myths, therefore, are more than fantasy. They highlight gaps in knowledge, invite investigation, and keep the story of Jerusalem's subterranean world alive. Ultimately, modern fascination with the hidden chambers reflects broader human desires: to discover, to understand, and to connect with the mysteries of the past. Jerusalem's underground city remains a symbol of endurance, imagination, and the enduring power of mystery, a space where history, myth, and human ambition converge beneath the streets of one of the world's most sacred cities. As we descend deeper into Jerusalem's hidden chambers, the weight of history becomes palpable. Every corridor, every vaulted ceiling, and every sealed door speaks of generations who carved, preserved, and protected these spaces. Laborers, guardians, scholars, and alchemists left behind more than stone and inscriptions. They left intention, devotion, and ambition. The chambers are a testament to human foresight, balancing practicality with spiritual and intellectual purpose. The tunnels converge, revealing a network designed with extraordinary care. Hidden sanctuaries intersect with storage rooms, secret archives, and ritual spaces. This convergence reflects not only architectural ingenuity but the continuity of human effort across centuries. Each chamber tells a story of risk, courage, and the ethical responsibility to safeguard knowledge and sacred artifacts. Standing within these depths, one senses the connection between past and present. The subterranean city is more than a physical space. It is a reflection of human aspiration, secrecy, and creativity. The discoveries challenge modern assumptions about history, illustrating the cumulative ingenuity of civilizations. The hidden chambers are both real and symbolic, embodying the interplay of faith, ambition, and morality. Here, viewers confront the profound mystery that has captivated humanity. Knowledge is preserved yet concealed, discovery is possible yet uncertain, and history is a living continuum. The emotional and intellectual climax emerges from this realization that beneath Jerusalem lies a testament to human endurance, creativity, and the enduring allure of the unknown. The hidden chambers of Jerusalem are not just relics, they are legacies. Every passage, sealed room, and inscription embodies centuries of human effort, ingenuity, and devotion. They reveal how individuals balance practicality, spirituality, and ethics to preserve knowledge and protect sacred spaces for future generations. Modern exploration illuminates these spaces in unprecedented ways. Technology allows archaeologists to map tunnels, analyze artifacts, and trace historical continuity, yet much remains hidden. Myths, legends, and stories persist alongside evidence, enriching the narrative and highlighting humanity's fascination with the unknown. These chambers serve as reminders that history is layered, complex, and often intentionally concealed. Emotionally, the experience is profound. Descending into these spaces evokes awe and reverence, connecting the modern observer with centuries of human ambition and care. Architectures, inscriptions, and artifacts are not mere objects. They are reflections of human choice, courage, and foresight. The chambers also inspire reflection on contemporary values, how we preserve knowledge, protect heritage, and navigate ethical responsibility. The hidden city challenges us to think deeply about what is worth safeguarding, what is worth discovering, and how human ingenuity shapes both history and imagination. Ultimately, Jerusalem's subterranean network is both historical and symbolic, a living archive, a cultural beacon, and a call to curiosity. It reminds us that beneath the surface of the familiar lies complexity, mystery, and the enduring power of human creativity. As our journey through Jerusalem's hidden chambers concludes, the profound impact of these spaces becomes clear. They are monuments to human ambition, ingenuity, and ethical responsibility. Every corridor and chamber reflects the labor, courage, and foresight of generations who shaped, preserved, and protected this subterranean city. The chambers teach us about the interplay of secrecy, knowledge, and power. Guardians carefully chose what to conceal, scholars preserved precious knowledge, and architects balanced function with symbolism. These decisions echo through time, connecting past and present, reminding us that history is layered and intentional. Modern exploration reveals much, yet mystery endures. Technology uncovers inscriptions, maps tunnels, and identifies artifacts, but many chambers remain unexplored. Myths and legends persist, enriching cultural fascination and highlighting humanity's enduring curiosity about the unknown. Emotionally, the hidden city inspires awe, reflection, and humility. Descending into these corridors connects us to countless lives across centuries, lives defined by devotion, courage, and vision. The experience embodies the continuity of human endeavor, the preservation of knowledge, and the unending quest to understand what lies beneath. In conclusion, Jerusalem's underground chambers are not merely historical curiosities. They are symbolic of human perseverance, creativity, and imagination. They challenge us to reflect on what we value, what we preserve, and the mysteries that still await discovery. In their silence, shadow, and stone, they invite us to wonder and to consider how history, secrecy, and human aspiration continue to shape the world above and below.